So members present and anyone watching online on the Council's YouTube channel, welcome to this Council meeting of Cambridge City Council. Some housekeeping notices. We are not expecting the fire alarm to go off. If it does, please leave everything and follow the exit signs on the Pease Hill side of the building and exit via the Pease Hill door and assemble in St Mary's Passage. Members of the public, you may see councillors using laptops and phones during the meeting. This is because many of us now use our laptops and phones to read the agenda, information pack and speeches, and it enables us to contribute to the meeting in an effective way. Now, we will now have just a few moments of reflection while Reverend Devin McLachlan speaks to us. Welcome, Devin.
There we are. Reminds me of the old joke of the minister at the peace who stands up and says, "There's something wrong with this microphone," and the congregation says, "And also with you." But thank you, Mayor. A very brief reflection, starting from a passage from the Hebrew Scriptures, the Old Testament, from Exodus. Moses took his seat to serve as judge for the people, and they stood around him from morning till evening. When his father-in-law saw all that Moses was doing for the people, he said, "What is this you are doing for the people? Why do you sit alone as judge, while all these people stand around you from morning till evening? What you are doing is not good. You and these people who come to you will only wear yourselves out. The work is too heavy for you. You cannot handle it alone. Listen now to me, and I will give you some advice. You must be the people's representative before God. But select capable people, trustworthy people who hate dishonest gain, and appoint them as officials over thousands, hundreds, 50s, and 10s. That will make your load lighter, because they will share it with you. If you do this, and God so commands, you will be able to stand the strain, and all these people will go home satisfied." The King James, the Authorized Version, puts it wonderfully. "Thou wilt surely wear away both thou and this people that is with thee." Our concerns for good governance, for constitutions, for deliberation and time are ones that human societies have wrestled with for generations and for thousands of years. I'm aware that this council is now meeting with a new constitution. We'll be discussing matters including a 4-day week, that our neighbors at the University of Cambridge have just announced the election of a new chancellor, and ongoing, growing, healthier relationships between town and gown, perhaps helped by also getting to meet Stormzy lately. But those concerns of how we hold together, how we work together, how we share that load with one another, and with, in fact, God-sanctioned committee work right there in the book of Exodus, and with you as representatives of the people in this community, and those from the community here to speak and to share in deliberations. So may our deliberations and decisions this day, at a time when so much of the world is striven with war and rumors of war, of partisanship, division, and misinformation, may we seek to share power, share authority, that we might build up community, that we might bring this city to that dream that God has for all of us, I believe, to live with one another in unity and peace. May we hold together, may we work together well. Thank you.
Thank you, Devin. Thank you very much. So now we move on to the agenda. I have apologies for absence from Councillor Houck and Councillor Swift. Any other apologies?
Councillor Howard sends his apologies.
Thank you. I believe Councillor Houck may join online, but he won't be able to vote, I'm afraid. Item Agenda 2, Declarations of Interest. You do not need to declare declarations if they are not relevant to this agenda. and you may declare interest at any time during the meeting if anything occurs to you. So do we have any? Councillor Thornborough?
Yes, when I first moved to Cambridge, this is in relation to public question 3. I lived in a shared house, which was a form of HMO, and my daughter, until quite recently, also did so. And that's also relevant to public question 3. And then in relation to the Jesus Green Lock motion, I was a CAM conservator for 3 years, but stopped being a conservator in December. But I have a boat which is moored on the river, but not in Cambridge.
Thank you, Councillor Thornborough. Councillor Bagent.
Member of CAMS Cycle.
And Councillor Tom.
Member of CAMS Cycle. Also, can I ask, while we're here, just because I like to have all the I's dotted and T's crossed, do we have a dispensation for the members' allowances item? Otherwise, I assume that would have to be declared too.
I imagine if there is one, it will be declared at the time. Thank you. You may declare interest at any time during the debate. Also, just to let you know that we will be taking a 10-minute break after either item 6 or 7, depending on progress, so that you just know when we're having a break. Yes?
Please.
Yes?
So it's in relation to item 8A, outturn report. So I'm directly involved into civic water design, and I won't be participating or voting in this one. Thanks.
Thank you. Item 3 is Mayor's announcements. So I've had a really busy and enjoyable few weeks in post as Mayor. I've attended some wonderful events, including many brilliant community activities across the city and many ceremonies recognising the incredible activism and philanthropy given by our charities and by individuals. And there have been many highlights, but I think probably meeting Stormzy was probably the highest one. His philanthropy funds many black students to come and study at Cambridge University, which is brilliant. I'd also like to highlight for you some following events. So this is Town Bumps Week, and I will be observing both the women's and men's division races, the finals, tomorrow evening, and then presenting the trophies to the winning teams. It's been very, very exciting. If you have a chance to go tomorrow night, do go. On Saturday, the 9th of August at 12 noon, we'll be outside the Guildhall commemorating Hiroshima and Nagasaki Day and the devastation caused by the atomic bombs dropped on those cities. So I do hope you can join me if you can. Also, the Mayor's Day Out takes place on Wednesday, the 13th of August. This marks the 40th anniversary of this popular outing to Great Yarmouth. I do hope as many of you as possible, and as many former mayors especially, will be able to attend. It should be a very exciting and jolly day, and you can email the Mayor's office for further information. VJ Day, 80th anniversary commemoration, is being held on Friday the 15th of August. The civic procession will leave the Guildhall at 10:45 ahead of a service at Great St Mary's at 11, and then tea and coffee served in the Guildhall after the event. I'd also, on behalf of us all, like to congratulate Lord Chris Smith, who's been elected as the next Chancellor of Cambridge University. Now, I've also been asked to remember, on behalf of us all, 2 people who have given extraordinary service to this council and to residents of this city. John Maris, a long-standing elected tenant representative on the City Council Housing Management Board and subsequently the Housing Scrutiny Committee, sadly died in May this year. John served from 2005 to 2018. He also chaired the South Arbury Residents Association and was a dedicated advocate for local residents, and as an elected tenant representative, passionate about housing and striving to get the best possible outcomes for council tenants. His commitment to council housing made him determined to lead campaigns successfully opposing proposals to transfer the council's housing stock to an arm's-length management organisation. In 1999 and in 2004, tenants balloted about the proposals, voted decisively to stay with the council. So without John, we may not now be a stock-owning council, and we would not have been in a position to embark upon our 500 new council homes programme in 2017, and we are now approaching 1,000 new council homes. Our tenants have a huge amount to thank John for. Rest in peace, John. Members, you will also no doubt be aware of the recent passing of former councillor John Hipkin. Now, John dedicated over 3 decades, 31 years to public service. During his time, he served as mayor of this city, chair and vice chair of the planning committee, and as a county councillor. He was first elected in 1979 as the county councillor for Romsey division at the age of 44. In 1982, he was elected as a city councillor for Castle Ward, and from 2013 to 2017, he once again served as a county councillor for Castle division. So he represented the ward for 29 years, stepping down undefeated in 2021 at the age of 86. Former leader of the council, Lewis Herbert, said of John upon his retirement, "John cares deeply about Cambridge and was always thought-provoking, able to influence the audience, and well worth listening to and heeding." John was respected for his contributions to education, notably as a founder and director of the Advisory Council for Education. His achievements are all the more remarkable given his early life as a Barnardo's boy. He leaves behind his devoted wife, Marie-Louise, and 7 children. Our thoughts are with them at this difficult time. Members are reminded of the email circulated on Monday by the Mayor's Office, which includes details of a fundraising page set up in John's memory for the Arthur Rank Hospice charity. If you should wish to attend the funeral in person, and it is scheduled for the 5th of August, or receive the live stream link, please contact the Mayor's Office directly. Finally, I'd like to end my announcements by celebrating our success as a council. The government recently published a groundbreaking civil society covenant. It's a framework to strengthen partnerships and collaboration between civil society and local and national government. Cambridge is cited a model of best practice for our long-term approach to tackling the deep-rooted causes of poverty, our new community wealth building strategy, and for our work with local partners and communities in shaping Abbey. So congratulations to all. That was very welcome. And it is nice to have a success story. Now, would you like that? Yes. That was in the script. It wasn't there. No. I've been asked if we would like to stand for a minute's silence for John Hipkin. Please do so. Thank you, members. And just one more item to announce. We've changed the order slightly. So item 10A will be taken immediately after item 5, as they are on the same topic. So that's the motion. 10A will be taken immediately after discussion of item 5. Right, we move now to agenda item 4. Oh, I haven't got any of this. Right. Apologies. So, final point. At the last meeting of Council, a resolution of thanks to the outgoing Mayor, Councillor Titale, was passed by the Council, and I would now like to invite the Chief Executive to present a copy of the resolution to Councillor Titale. Congratulations. Councillor, I beg your pardon, I can't read it. Blackburn Hall, thank you.
I'd like to make a point of order. As there are no minutes, what will be the process for the council to agree them, as cannot do it sight unseen?
Would you like to? I'm sorry to say that the minutes were only finished today. They will be circulated as soon as the senior officer has verified them. Okay. So now we will move on to item agenda 4. Does Councillor Holloway, as relevant cabinet member, wish to introduce this item?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Well, I'm delighted to see this come forwards. We've supported South Cambridgeshire District Council's approach on the 4-day week from the start, and I want to applaud them for their progressive thinking on tackling the recruitment and retention crisis, which is affecting so many councils. We can't, as councils, offer the big money that many companies can, but we can offer other incentives, and I think this is a really innovative and effective way of doing that. Our primary obligation is to make sure we're providing high-quality services to our residents. The shared planning and waste services have continued to be delivered to a high standard throughout the 4-day week, and the council has saved money in those services. The waste service as a whole makes nearly 800,000 collections per month, and it's maintained a success rate of 99.89%, while the planning service has also improved in key metrics, such as the time taken to decide planning applications. I'm also very glad that council workers, and let's not forget council workers, are also people. They're our neighbours, our friends, our family, as well as providing vital services to residents. They've benefited from a better work-life balance, and they've seen improvements in their health and well-being, which is really good to see. So to me, if this is producing results, it's saving money, it's improving staff well-being, then moving to a 4-day week for these services makes a lot of sense. In the 21st century, with all the technological advantages of modern life, we should aspire to a society where people have a positive work-life balance and they can live happily and healthily. We need forward-thinking organisations to pave the way for that to happen, and I hope we can vote today to be a part of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Holloway. And do we have any debate? So, Councillor Houck. Councillor Clough. And I think that's all. Yeah. Councillor Clough, if you'd like to speak.
I'm grateful to Councillor Bennett for explaining to me some of the context of this item. And I support the idea of a 4-day week in principle. But I note one of the apparent justifications for this is the pace with which Greater Cambridge Shared Planning achieves the processing of planning applications. I represent a ward where GCSP's failures on planning applications have caused huge damage over the last 3 years. We've also seen some great support from the GCSP, for instance, over the neighbourhood plan. But overall, I cannot feel comfortable about supporting this proposal. Reform rather than reward, I think, is the direction we should be going in. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Clough. Do we have Councillor Porrer, Councillor Thornborough?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. My group supports this recommendation, and we are very proud that a Liberal Democrat council in South Cambs, in partnership with the City Council, with our shared waste and planning teams, which run across both of us, have undertaken such an innovative project. And we are particularly proud that this is evidence-based, as the leader mentioned. These are recommendations based on outputs improving, not about presenteeism sitting at your desk, something Lib Dems love, evidence-based policy making. Our services have remained the same or improved for residents during the trial period. Our staff work so hard for residents, as we all know, to make this city a better place. They are happier, healthier, and more likely to want to stay working with us for the future. This means that we attract the best people to stay with us with continuity of service for residents, which is what people want, and we save money with fewer job recruitment costs. For the city, as a resident, my experience is mostly bins, obviously, and I love the fact that I don't have to worry when there's a bank holiday that my bin day changes. How great. It's always going to be Tuesday for me. And the same with my councillor hat on. Unlike Councillor Clough, I have seen the planning service improve drastically. Officer retention is better, we have faster decisions, we have more consistency for residents and businesses, which is what they're asking for. This is not about individual grudges against a planning application. This is about outputs providing a better service for our residents and saving for a statutory service like planning, and I'm sure Councillor Thorne was probably about to say money, because we have to provide that service, and if we don't have staff, we have to buy them in. So as a long-term advocate, as many of you know, as the productivity of flexible work, this is a hugely positive move forward, and I urge members tonight to support this recommendation for the benefit of residents and our staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Porra. Councillor Thornborough.
I'd just like to say that across the country, well, England and Wales, the planning services are really struggling with dealing with their budgets, dealing with meeting targets, and dealing with retention. And this is what we found before the shared planning went through a transformation. It was difficult enough becoming shared planning, and then they were dealing with going through all of the aspects of work. But one of the really big problems was retention. And that was why we had a lot of contract staff within the service dealing with general things. But with the move to the 4-day week, in conjunction with the really important transformation and work considerations within shared planning, we've gone to probably the exemplar shared planning service in the whole country. Now, from struggling to get staff, for every advert that we put out, we get between 50 and 100 adverts. This is unheard of across the country. And the quality of the staff and the morale of how we work together is just astonishing. The KPIs of which meeting the dates, the week, the number of weeks for dealing with different planning applications is a national requirement. So it's not, we have to meet those. One of the reasons we are more than meeting those is the work that now goes in for pre-planning applications and that service. We continue to try to look at issues where councillors or residents or applicants do have problems, and we try to work together. And we continue to try and improve pre-application process so that ward councillors are more involved all the way through. But I'm so proud of the shared planning service, and I think we should be. It's being held up in this country as an exemplar, and a lot of it is to do with the 4-day week. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thornborough, and I would like to support that. We know that they have been awarded and are a really superb planning service, so congratulations. Councillor Bajan, and then I'm going to go to Councillor Holloway, if you like a right of reply.
Thank you, Chair. Very briefly, just to say that the Planning Committee now works extremely efficiently. It's worked much better than it used to. It was a bit of a mess before. We were always having contract officers. Things weren't getting done on time. Now we find that the Planning Committee is, as Katie says, an exemplar. I won't go on.
Thank you, Councillor Bajan, and Councillor Bennett. Final word, and thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to say I support the 4-day week as a Green Party member and also as an accountant in public practice. I apologise that my explanation to Councillor Clough was clearly not a very good one. And I hope that at least some members of my group will vote for this motion, which is, after all, national Green Party policy.
Thank you, Councillor Bennett. Councillor Holloway, would you like a reply?
Thank you very much, everyone, for your comments. This is a really important moment for this council, and I'm grateful again to South Cambridgeshire District Council for their work on this. We're very glad to be a part of it.
Thank you, Councillor Holloway. Now, thank you very much to James, who has worked wonders this evening to make the voting work. So, fingers crossed, if you would like to now vote for the motion, the item 4, please, yeah.
I'd like to request permission to abstain. I've got the permission of my group whip, and I'd like to ask your permission.
I'm not sure that it's my place to give you permission, but I think that's, if the whip has, that's acceptable. The recommendation is that you just don't vote, okay, and we won't record your vote. The vote is underway for everybody else, thank you. No, you started it again. Oh. Right, is that working, James? It's microphone. Oh, yeah, it is. Are you happy to do a vote by show of hands? Yes. I'll take it in a moment, yeah. Right.
Are we doing it by show of hands or is it by...
Saying I've not voted. Oh. Haven't know who's going to vote. Yeah, yeah. Right, everybody's voted. If you would just like to say, are you voting in favour?
Madam Mayor, I'm voting in favour.
Madam Mayor, my microphone isn't working either. I'm voting in favour.
I heard you well. Right, so I make that 34 in favour, 1 against, 1 abstention. So the motion is carried.
Yes, we've got the two at the back as well, have we? 36 then.
So it's actually 36, including the 2 who voted manually. Good. Well, let's hope it sorts itself out. Right, we're moving on now to item 5. This is the update on local government reorganisation. So, Councillor Holloway, I once again call on you, please, to introduce.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. How long do I have for this item? How long do I have to speak on this item?
You have 3 minutes.
Okay, I'll save my full speech for the motion then, but I will make a short comment now. So this is a very significant moment for this and many other councils. Local government reorganisation will likely mean the end of this council in its current form and the creation of new unitary councils in Cambridgeshire and Peterborough. So the information that you've got in the item is hopefully going to be helpful to you and to the public in understanding a bit more about the process that has taken place so far. Some discussions have been internal, but we have in weeks and months started to engage more with the public on this topic, and that's our intention with today's paper and motion. The paper outlines some of the work that's been done so far, as well as some of the criteria that could be used to come to a decision on the most appropriate proposal. The motion then sets out our current thinking on what appears to be the best option for our area, subject to the more detailed work that is still to be done as part of the preparation of proposals for submission in November. We will return to this council for a decision to submit a final proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Holloway. Do we have any debate, please? Councillor Bick, Councillor Bennett.
Madam Mayor, I wasn't going to debate because I've sort of sensed that's probably going to happen under the motion, but I did want to recognise this report. I think it's very helpful as a backcloth for the debate that we're going to have, and to thank officers for that. So that was really all I wanted to say at the moment.
Thank you. And Councillor Bennett.
My position is similar. I'll speak during the debate, but I just wanted to comment on a couple of things within the report. The first one is section 5.2, which is page 7 for me, may not be page 7 for you, and noting that the preferred option is still not fully green and fully compliant with the government's assessments. And secondly, the other thing I wanted to draw attention to is the costs of reorganisation, 9.2, page 10. The report correctly notes that a grant of 318,000 to councils has been provided for implementation costs to councils across Cambridge and Peterborough to develop proposals. I think it would be more helpful to point out that the costs of reorganisation across the region have been estimated by Stephen Moyer, who is the CEO for the County Council, at 18 million, and that is based on the Grant Thornton and PricewaterhouseCoopers reports on historic reorganisations. Presumably, we now at least have some high-level information on the costs of reorganisation, but I'd like to ask if the report can be amended to note the disparity between the grants provided and the reorganisation costs. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bennett. I'll take Councillor Tong while we just consider what you've said.
Oh, this isn't a contribution to the debate. I just wanted to make sure that it was on my declaration of interest that I'm on Cambridgeshire County Council. It's a very tangential point related to this debate, and I believe I've already declared it on the actual declaration of interest form, but just in case it isn't, I wanted to notify here.
Thank you, Councillor Tong. So, Councillor Bennett, you may not do an amendment to a report, and we have to vote on it as it is. So I think, Councillor Holloway, unless you wish to say anything else, we can go straight to the recommendations. That's okay, is it? Yeah? Great, good. So the recommendations are on page 15 of the agenda pack, and we are recommended to note the progress to date of local government reorganisation. Note that of the proposed geographies, option B best meets key criteria for LGR, and agree to hold an extraordinary council meeting to discuss the final proposals. And the reason I'm clarifying that is because we are then going to move on to debate the motion 10A, which has been brought by jointly by the Liberal Democrats and Labour. So are we happy now to go ahead and vote on the recommendations on page 15 of your agenda pack, please? Are you voting in support? Can just, yeah, right, yeah.
Yes, I'm voting
Thank
for,
you.
Madam Mayor.
So,
Thank you. So we have, is that 36 include them?
No.
No. So 38 in favour, nobody has voted against and nobody has abstained. So that recommendation is passed. Thank you. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the motion 10A, which is also relating to this, and it's in your information pack. And also at the front of the agenda item as well. So I'll now call upon Councillor Holloway to introduce the motion, and you have, I believe, 3 minutes. 5 minutes, yes. Actually, you reminded me, yes. And also, because it is a joint motion, Councillor Bick, you will also have 5 minutes to speak.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. When we're asking about talking to residents, we so often hear that they're confused and frustrated by our multiple tiers of local government. This is a chance to simplify things. The government is asking all areas with 2 tiers of local government to reorganise into unitary councils, which combine all local government functions in one authority. These types of councils are already the norm in many parts of the country. Since the government made this announcement, we've been working with all 7 existing councils in Cambridgeshire and Peterborough to explore options for local government reorganisation. We actually, as a council, got ahead of the game on asking residents about this by running an initial engagement exercise last summer before the government announcement was made on the future of local government for Cambridge, which has proved very timely. And we've also done a joint engagement exercise more recently with other local councils in the area. We plan to do further work to understand residents' needs and views in the coming months prior to submission of proposals in November. There will then be another chance for residents to comment on proposals as part of a statutory consultation by government in spring next year. Now, the process of reorganising councils may sound technocratic, and perhaps it is, but its impacts will be profound. This reorganisation process represents the biggest change to local democracy and to service delivery for 50 years. Current county council services will almost certainly come closer to Cambridge, meaning decisions on social care, SEND, filling potholes will be taken more locally. A unitary council could empower communities through simpler engagement for residents and clearer accountability for local decision making. And it could support more joined up and accessible services that could help to effectively tackle complex challenges such as poverty, health inequalities, nature restoration and climate change. It's not all good news, admittedly. In the short term, the reorganisation process will take time and it will take money. But in the long term, it does seem to be a pragmatic and a positive step. At this stage, 3 potential geographical options for reorganisation have been identified by council leaders across Cambridgeshire and Peterborough through an ongoing process of discussion in recent months, and all of these have been assessed as financially viable. We're proposing to work with other local councils on a case for a unitary authority covering the current geographies of Cambridge City Council and South Cambridgeshire District Council, alongside viable arrangements for the rest of the county. Our area has a unique geography, with Cambridge City surrounded by South Cambridgeshire on all sides. As a result, the City and District Councils already share a planning service and a waste service. It's an area with a coherent identity that makes sense to local residents and fits with the way they live their lives. Many people travel between the 2 districts regularly for work, for education, healthcare, cultural events and social activities. And existing boundaries sometimes feel artificial, particularly in places on the city's edge like Eddington, Orchard Park or Milton. With around 320,000 residents, a unitary council for this area would be large enough to be financially sustainable, while small enough to bring real focus and local expertise to the tasks of supporting and empowering local communities, allowing nature to thrive and developing our area in a sensitive, sustainable and inclusive way. I hope you will support this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Holloway. Councillor Bick, would you like to speak now or will you reserve your right?
I'll speak now, thanks, Madam Mayor. This is the first motion on this subject since the one that we brought in October 2023. That motion called for progress towards a unitary council covering Cambridge. The argument was for greater simplicity, clearer accountability, and easier joined-up decision-making. This triggered a survey and a public engagement exercise which resoundingly endorsed the goal. There was then a substantial meeting of minds across the chamber about the goal, and I'm pleased that there still is today. It's obviously helpful that the government has since directed the elimination of two-tier local government in all those areas like ours that still have it, and this has provided the impetus to galvanise action amongst other existing councils which are clearly affected by this kind of change. The element which we were not totally united on in 2023 was about what would make a sensible geographic footprint for a new unitary covering Cambridge. So I'm pleased that the Labour colleagues here have travelled some way from their idea then of cannibalising South Cambridgeshire and sticking bits onto the city. This would have resulted in a unitary that was too small to be sustainable, failed to encompass the scope of decision-making that we would ideally want to make more joined up, and leave questions that would be hard to answer about what was left behind. The government guidance, even at its most generous interpretation, makes clear that such a scheme wouldn't work now. So the question remains, what should be the best footprint? As is described, in the officer's report, there is a collaborative process going on between Cambridgeshire and Peterborough's existing councils to consider this. Some very useful data analysis that we've looked at has been obtained, and it's positive that the council leaders and the chief executives are so far not purely acting for their own areas, oblivious of the impact on others. It's also to be welcomed that no one is advancing the idea that the whole county, or the whole county plus Peterborough, should become a single mega unitary. Though the county these days is under beneficial political leadership, that footprint has proved dysfunctional historically over time for this city and the surrounding area. Having said that, the answer to the footprint question is inevitably influenced by where you look at it from and what matters to you most. It seems certain that from this area, as from most other areas of the country, more than one proposal will be made in November, and that it will be for the government to decide between them. It matters that these options carry with them evidence of their viability and how they would work, and that we make sure that the one we've got our eye on is on the table for the government to make that decision. I think it's a good thing for the current process to be transparent, for the council leaders to be open about the options that they're working on, and for that to inform the public debate as we go. On Cambridge City Council, we're naturally looking at this from the perspective of our city, Cambridge. My instinct is that a unitary which can avoid being too remote from the citizens, but still large enough to be financially viable and to encompass most of the key decision-making that needs to be joined up, such as around planning, would be likely to serve local people best. Because some of the issues of urban areas can be distinct from rural areas, I think that the fairest way over time of configuring a new council area is for neither to swamp the other, so both get an equal chance of attention. It looks like we are fortunate here in the dynamics of our area make a smaller unitary more financially sustainable than it otherwise would be. But we can also see that the balancing area to the north appears to represent a second very viable entity for different reasons, even more than one if recent ideas brought forward by Peterborough MPs pass the financial sustainability test. So for these reasons, the Greater Cambridge geography looks to be an ideal solution. I'm hearing lots of bells. I'm not sure which one's which.
Yes, your time is up, Councillor Vick.
Okay, so just to finish then, just to finish to say...
Please finish your sentence,
that
yes.
on our side, we are happy to sponsor and support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good. Now, do we have any debate? Councillor Bennett? I think you're the only one.
I just want to say that I am neither for nor against reorganisation, because for me, the devil is in the detail. And in the initial white paper, sorry, does Mike need something? Okay, sorry. In the initial white paper, the Minister talks of achieving £8 billion of savings from local government reorganisation, and that seems to be a very strong motive for reorganisation. Yet we have never seen any workings that justify those figures. And in fact, the Grant Thornton and PwC reports suggest that savings may be few and far between. And indeed, the experience of other councils reorganised has been that services have been reduced because those savings have not been made or have not been made for a very long period. The Grant Thornton and PwC reports also make some suggestions about how a local government reorganisation process might be managed best to improve the chances of savings being made and services being protected. And one of the key suggestions, I won't share a lot, it's a very long report, is that people should take the time to plan well, but yet we are being forced to go at breakneck speed towards reorganisation and told that if we miss the deadlines imposed by ministers, that they will make the decisions for us and take the decisions out of our hand. That is the opposite of sensible planning and best practice in any corporate reorganisation. I have said that I'm neither for nor against this particular reorganisation. What I would say is that Greens are a modern evidence-based party. The impact of this reorganisation on our most vulnerable residents will depend on services, particularly social services, adult social services, children's social services, and SEND being protected as much as possible. And at this moment, we've not had the detailed financial report from Pixel, and we do not know that the preferred option is actually financially viable or what the impacts on services will be. So at the moment, I feel this motion is premature and I intend to abstain. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bennett. Spot on timing. Councillor Davey.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There's two things for me that must focus our minds upon the decision we take forward today, and that's about residents and geography. They're the key issues for me, and that's what we should be our focus. And so I'm delighted that this is a cross-party motion, although I'm very disappointed that the Greens, despite their desire for local decision-making, be at the most local point, appear to be abstaining on this particular process. And that's what it's about for me, residents. Is it acceptable that somebody who's a councillor in March makes a decision in Alconbury about the care homes that are provided in Cambridge City? County Council, I'm sure, will say something in due course. It doesn't make sense any more than it does if someone in Cambridge makes decisions for people in Wisbech. It's about local decision-making being made in the most local place. So therefore, is unitarisation, for want of a better term, a good thing? Yes, because the current process is not clear, and our residents, as Councillor Holloway has already said, don't know which council's responsible for which thing. So this is simpler, more local, and hopefully more effective. The process was started, as Councillor Bix already said, 2 years ago, and that helped us to move things forward. And in that part of that process, over 70%, if I understand it correctly, made it quite clear that their view was a unitary authority based around Cambridge was the right thing. So in terms of whether unitarisation is right for our residents, yes, would appear to be the answer. The second thing, therefore, is about geography. What's the best geography for our residents? What's the best geography that will work? Which, again, has been touched on already. I did take a bit of issue with Councillor Bick's rather provocative political statements. We hadn't made a decision on what the right geography was for Cambridge, so I'm interested to know that he knew what our decision was 2 years ago, because that wasn't the case. And we've worked incredibly closely with Councillor Smith, the leader of South Cambs, to try and make sure that we look at all the different options, which is that work's being carried on by Councillor Holloway with other leaders across the region. So is it the right geography? Is Cambridge and South Cambs the right geography? And whilst there's no perfect solution, we've been encouraged to work closely within district boundaries. And then when you look at that, where the growth area is, where the potential for the city is, what could happen in Cambridge, and it becomes, I think, fairly clear that Cambridge and South Cambs is the right geography. Particularly, and I think the bit that I'd want to emphasise here, is about future-proof. We have a city already around 250,000 if you have the conurbation. With South Cambs, the total figure is about 300,000. I have little doubt that the city and the South Cambs in the next 20 years will move to 500,000. Is that the right size? Yes. Is it local? Yes. Is it what our residents want? Yes. I would urge you to accept this motion. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Davey. Now, I'm just aware that my timings are starting to slip just a little bit, so I'm going to take just Councillor Tong, Councillor Deloire, and then I'm coming back to Councillor Holloway to sum up.
I assume that's my cue. Now, I absolutely agree with the sentiment. Apologies, sorry, just wanted to make sure. I absolutely agree with the sentiment that local government is in an absolute mess. And I do think simplification is needed to allow more democratic accountability. The question is whether or not this plan is actually there to facilitate that. Because I would argue the current reorganisation isn't to put power back into the hands of residents, it's to concentrate power so that national government can deliver a vision that it has for Cambridge. And I think that can be well evidenced. Obviously, we had recently national government step in over the Beehive Centre application, thinking that, well, our Labour government needs to babysit its own Labour-run council to actually get planning applications done. Quite embarrassing.
Please keep to the point, Councillor Tong. We're talking about the local government reorganisation.
Absolutely fine. Anyway, I will summarise from there then, because I think my point is quite clear. The devil is in the details, as my colleague Councillor Bennett has said. And in all seriousness, I don't feel this is being done in a way that strengthens local democracy. And I don't think we have the evidence that we can yet commit to our own vision for what a unitary comprising Cambridge should look like, even though I think it could potentially be a really good idea were it done correctly.
Thank you. Councillor Deloire.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I think we need to not only look at ourselves, only East Cambridge City and South Cam, we need to look into this other geographical area as well. If we look at Peterborough, Huntington, East Cam and Finland, that means looks 400,000 people, and Cambridge City and South Cam only 319,000 people. So it don't looks very fair. And I wish all the residents, all the Cambridgeshire, they will attend this consultation, and we want to look into this, what our residents wanted, not only what we want, because we serving them, we need to look into their interest as well. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Smart, can you be really brief, please? Because I know you haven't spoken yet.
Well, because I wasn't going to say anything, but I just find it really frustrating listening to the Greens talking about not voting. I mean, talking about not enough detail, there's literally hundreds and hundreds of pages of detail that have gone into this. And, you know, some of us looked at it. I'm sure they must have looked at it. So to say there's no detail is rubbish, and they should vote. They shouldn't just sit on the fence. You're here to make decisions. You've been elected as councillors to make decisions, so do it.
Thank you, Councillor Smart. Now I'm going back to Councillor Holloway. You have a right of reply or to sum up the debate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I agreed with much of what was said in the debate, but I do want to respond also to some of the points made by the Green councillors. They rightly place importance on the services we're providing to residents and the democratic accountability to residents. I believe that this reorganisation offers an opportunity for us to improve both of those things. As we've seen in our engagement last year, residents felt that actually a unitary authority would be a good thing. So I hope that the Green Party are listening to that. We've seen that many residents do get confused about what is the council. Is it the county council? Is it the city council? If we can simplify that, bring decision-making to a more local level, I think that's a very positive thing for residents. We talk about the services for our most vulnerable residents. Absolutely, that is our priority. But I think that by bringing together services like housing and health in the same authority, we can have better outcomes for our residents, and we will be doing a lot of work in the coming years. Don't worry, we will be working very hard on that. We already are working very hard on the planning for this. You talk about planning well. We are planning well. We are doing this as well as we possibly can, and actually discussing this today and taking a decision to continue to work on a proposal would be really helpful in facilitating that planning. Now, this isn't a final decision. As I've said, we will come back to the council for a final decision. But as it stands, we're looking at what we believe looks to be the best geography on the information we have at the moment. So I think it's a very important thing to bring this into the open. The public can see the work that's gone on, can see the kind of decisions that we're looking at, the kind of considerations that are going on. It's important that councillors have the opportunity to debate that and to look at that information. So I think it's absolutely the right time to bring this. And if we weren't bringing it, we would probably rightly be criticised for being not transparent on this issue. So I do find some of those criticisms confusing. I think this is a really positive proposal. It's something that could really work for the future of Cambridge and the surrounding area. So I hope that you vote in favour of the motion.
Thank you very much, Councillor Holloway. So now we are voting on motion 10A, which you can find at the front of your agenda pack. Councillor Smith.
Yeah, may I make a query on whether I need to make a declaration of interest? It's in my declarations of interest that I do some part-time work for one of the MPs in Peterborough, Andrew Pakes. As Councillor Bick mentioned, Andrew Pakes in his speech, I just wanted to check there was nothing that would stop me voting on this motion.
I don't think so, no, Councillor.
Can I make a point of order, Madam Mayor? For some reason on the voting list, which I've noticed with a colleague, Mike Black is down as one of the councillors, and I think he might be a county councillor. I don't know if that's a problem that needs to be recognised, but it's just to alert.
Thank you, Councillor David. I don't see him in the chamber, so I think we'll keep an eye. Councillor Smith and Todd Jones. In favour? In favour.
In favour, Madam Mayor.
Yeah. So we don't seem to have very many votes. Not working, okay. Okay, we're starting again. Please, can you vote again? I do apologise, it's obviously too much electricity in the air. And we take those two votes, they've given their votes, yeah. That looks more like it, yeah. Is everybody happy that their vote has been recorded? So we have 33 in favour, we have none against, and we have 3 abstentions. So that motion is carried. Congratulations, yes, good. So now we move to item 6, which is public questions. So welcome to our public speakers. I'm sure you know by now that your question has been written down. You don't need to read your original question, but you do have the opportunity to ask a supplementary question. If you'd like to questioner number 1, which is Martin Keegan.
I don't think he's here, Chair.
Huh?
I don't think he's here tonight, Chair.
No, Martin. So do we take the question?
The Cabinet member gives us
All right. So Martin isn't present, but we've got question 1. If the Cabinet member would like to respond, and I don't have it written down here who it is.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So through you, if I can give a response. I don't know if Martin is listening in, but thank you for your question. Regarding antisocial behaviour in housing association properties, the Council can work together with the Housing Association and other partners to address antisocial behaviour. Cases can be referred to the Council's problem-solving group where, depending on the nature of the behaviour, supportive, preventative or enforcement options can be considered. The Council can also support the Housing Association over the issuing of community protection warnings and notices where appropriate. Housing associations do have regulatory obligations regarding effective antisocial behaviour management, and they will have a formal complaint process if residents do not feel that antisocial behaviour is being effectively managed. However, and very relevant to the question, the community trigger, also known as the antisocial behaviour case review, allows victims of antisocial behaviour to ask for a review of their case if they feel that no or inadequate action has been taken place to tackle the reported problem. The antisocial case review can be requested via the City Council's website. If the threshold for a case review has been met, the case can be referred to the problem-solving group. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Todd-Jones. And I don't think there's a supplementary because the questioner isn't present. So we move on to question 2, please, and that's Susie Williams, if you'd like to take a seat. And if you'd like to just say if you're representing yourself or an organisation.
Yeah, I'm just representing myself. In the rest of Great Britain, only 4
Thank you, Susie, you don't need to read it out. Okay, so
I'm not allowed to, no.
No,
okay.
well, we all have it printed, so the response, please, from the relevant Cabinet member.
Thank you for your question, Susie. So following an extensive competitive public sector tender process for a materials recycling facility known as a MRF contract, which was conducted by all of the Cambridgeshire District Councils and Peterborough City Council under the umbrella of RECAP, which is the Recycling in Cambridgeshire and Peterborough Partnership, Regen was awarded the contract for Greater Cambridge Shared Waste Service, which is a shared waste service with Cambridge City Council and South Cambridgeshire District Council. And this contract was based on their facility in Newry in Northern Ireland. Regen, which is a family business, won Team of the Year Award 2024 at the annual National Recycling Awards in London last year. It's one of the largest MRF providers in Europe and continues to expand its operations in the UK and beyond. As part of its expansion plans, Regen intends to commence operations of a MRF on the UK mainland. This facility would be suitable and available to cater for some or hopefully all of the waste from Greater Cambridge Shared Waste. However, as I have said previously, including on the radio, BBC Cambridgeshire, oh, is that an ad? Other radio stations are available. Actually, I may have also said it on the smaller one, Cambridge Radio. Anyway, I've said it before, I'll say it again. The award of the contract to Regen was not based on a UK mainland facility. It was not a consideration in the procurement process. The procurement process was based on the facility in Newry. However, Regen is continuing to pursue the UK mainland MRF, but we do not currently have an update on this facility yet.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Do Did you have a supplementary question, Susie?
Yes, I do. I've checked, and in Great Britain, only 4 other councils in Wales and Scotland are sending their blue bin recycling to Regen in Northern Ireland. That's less than 5% of the total, and they are all much nearer to Northern Ireland than us. The huge majority of councils use local MRFs. They minimise their CO2 emissions that transporting the recycling material involves. You considered local sites, you inexplicably chose Northern Ireland, you have maximised your CO2 emissions. How did you get your procurement process for recycling so scandalously wrong?
Thank you. Would you like to respond, Councillor Moore?
Thank you. So the existing contract for processing our dry recyclables came to an end in 2024. We extended it to cover us up to 2025. That's why it changed in March. We had to carry out a competitive public sector tender process for a new contract. Regen offered the best option based on costs, quality of processing, compliance and fulfilment of all our requirements. So they accept the full range of quantity and recyclable materials that we currently collect. So for example, others who were of a similar response, we couldn't collect plastic film. So we haven't had to change what we can collect in our blue bins. And in fact, because the new MRF, because it's been modernised, or it was built modern rather than the one we were using previously, up to 20% more of what goes in the blue bin can be recycled. Now, recycling is a global market, and supply chains for the recycler and the finished products can be international. Therefore, although us transporting our recycling to Newry is not ideal, it is actually just a drop in the ocean of the transportation involved in recycling. Recycling is much better than sending anything to landfill, in terms of climate change, use of resources and for nature. However, it's not a panacea to our waste issues. And so I'd like to highlight the waste hierarchy. At the top, reducing waste, that should be everyone's priority. Second is reuse, and then third is recycling. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Thank you, Susie. We move on to question 3. Now, this is a question from Anne Charlton, who's not able to be present this evening. It's a question on HMO, so I'm assuming it's Councillor Bird, is it? Or no, it's Councillor Thornberry. If you'd like to give a response, please.
Thank you, Anne Charlton, for raising questions about HMOs, Article 4 and SPDs. As these issues actually cover planning and also housing, which is the remit of Councillor Jerry Bird, we've discussed and agreed that I should answer. Our evidence, the Greater Cambridge Shared Planning evidence so far shows that there are currently 862 licensed MHOs in the city. The services is processing in the process of comparing data sources on council tax exemptions to identify student homes, and also with complaints on noise and refuse with the locations of the registered MHOs to determine if there is evidence sufficient to demonstrate that there is a correlation between these data sets, which would justify a submission to the Secretary of State for an Article 4 direction, removing permitted development for specific parts of the city. This follows changes to the National Planning Guidance preventing the use of a blanket ban style, Article 4, that would have had an exemption for the whole city. Through September and October, the Council will also be bringing through scrutiny and in Cabinet the next emerging joint local plan, which will contain a policy on HMOs where permission is required. Subject to the Cabinet's agreement, the local plan and its policies will be subject to a consultation later this year. There's no scope to introduce an SPD because there's no suitable policy in the adopted local plan justifying an SPD. A national private rented sector database is part of the measures proposed within the Renters' Rights Bill, and which will be enacted winter this year, and we believe the database will be launched from winter next year. It's proposed that this will help landlords understand their legal obligations and demonstrate compliance, alongside providing better information to tenants to make informed decisions.
Thank you, Councillor Thornborough. And we now move on to question 4, which is Katie and John Preston. If you'd like to take the table and just introduce yourselves and say if you're representing a group or as individuals.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and councillors. I'm not representing a group. I've been a Cambridge resident for many years. I've been a market customer for over 50 years, and I've been advising market traders in relation to the historic environment matters.
Thank you, John. I call upon Councillor Moore, please, to give a response.
Thank you for your question and for your ongoing feedback and engagement with the liaison process. The proposals to the market commit to a thriving 7-day-a-week market with permanent stalls alongside new demountable stalls to allow the market square to be used for other purposes when the demand isn't there from market traders for all stalls to be in use, or during the day when during the evening when the market is closed. Proposals include more seating, a better surface for accessibility and cleaning, more greenery, better lighting to improve safety, underground bins to reduce clutter, and the existing fountain is proposed to be retained and restored. The public engagement received responses from over 500 people, which is a good number for our consultations. The trial of the demountable stalls was planned to be for a fortnight, and traders were informed of that before it started. The project team and I have been meeting monthly with the traders to update them on design changes, the business plan, the options for the temporary location of the market while the works are being completed, and to get valuable feedback every step of the way. The liaison group and the members' liaison group have been meeting less often. Generally, the slides for all 3 groups, because the meeting is usually on the same day, one after the other, have been the same. However, last week's meeting, which unfortunately I was not able to attend as I had to be elsewhere, had some last-minute changes, so some of the slides were more up-to-date in the later meeting. It is nothing sinister, just that it's a complex project and the team are constantly responding to feedback, so the designs and plans are changing accordingly.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. John, would you like to ask a supplementary question?
Yes, please.
You have 1 minute.
Just 1 minute, right? One immediate query. At last week's traders meeting was feedback from the market traders was reported, which could equally have been reported to the liaison group and would have been extremely relevant, but it was not. That illustrates the point I was trying to make. And then the other thing is that the petition that my wife and I have organised has now passed 1,200 signatures of people who are very concerned not only at the loss of the traditional market, but the impact of the proposals on the traditional traders, because that's the issue. It's having a market that will work for the traders.
Thank you. Councillor Moore, if you'd like to answer the question, please.
Thank you. I've always been very open with this council from the very start of the project that we plan to have new flooring, new infrastructure, such as electrics and new stalls, and that having demountable stalls will be a part of it. In fact, the first designs included 100% demountable stalls, but following feedback from the traders, the plans now have around half the square covered with permanent stalls. The consultation showed that there is overall support for the proposals, including maintaining the current size of the market, providing the seating area and restoring the fountain. The council is intending to provide new stalls which will cover a slightly larger area than now, but with improved facilities for the traders and the public. The design is still being worked on and the number and design of the stalls has not yet been finished. As I said, unfortunately I was not at either of the meetings last week, so I can't comment on the differences. However, as I said in my response to the first question, it's an evolving process. Feedback is being responded to, and the designs, as I say, have not yet been finalised. Thank you. We will be having a traders meeting again in August, the next one, when we will no doubt have further changes to the design. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Moore. Very much an ongoing process then. Now we have question 5. This is Martha Lucas. Is
She's online, Chair.
Martha is online.
Hi, I'm on Zoom.
Hello, Martha, if you just hold on one moment. Yes, Councillor.
I have a point of order about Anne Charlson's question. She submitted a supplementary. Do you have that to be read out?
No, we don't read it out, but she will receive a written answer.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Martha, you're online, are you? Is she?
Yeah.
Are you able just to introduce yourself and say if you're speaking on behalf of yourself or an organisation, please?
Hi, my name is Martha and I'm the co-chair of the Cambridge University Labour Club and I'm speaking on behalf of the Cambridge University Labour Club.
Thank you very much. I think Councillor Holloway is going to give you a response.
Hi, Martha. Thank you very much for your question on this incredibly important topic. I'd like to, first of all, congratulate all students from Gaza who have been awarded places at UK universities for next year, and in particular the 2 students, Malak Hani and one other, who have gained places at the University of Cambridge. It's an extraordinary achievement in spite of the unimaginable horror of their circumstances. We very much hope to be able to welcome both students to Cambridge for the new academic year, and we are sure they'll be an asset to the university and to the Cambridge community. We fully support and are more than happy to add our voice to recent calls by University of Cambridge academics and MPs for the students' applications to be swiftly considered and for the Home Office to do all it can to ensure that all necessary checks can be completed and assistance provided in order for students to take up their places in the autumn. We will continue to work with local stakeholders, in particular the University of Cambridge, to provide whatever support we can in this case. I and the Chief Executive will write to the Home Office regarding this case as well. So thank you for your question. As a city of sanctuary, Cambridge welcomes all people fleeing war, persecution and natural disasters, and we hope soon to be able to welcome these students to our city.
Thank you very much, Councillor Holloway. Martha, did you want to ask a supplementary question?
Yes, please.
You have a minute. Go ahead.
Malak, like her fellow students in Gaza, is living through the most intolerable circumstances, under daily bombardment in fear of her life. Some of the students offered places at the UK universities have been killed whilst waiting. Just this week, over 100 aid agencies warn that mass starvation is spreading across Gaza, and according to the UN, nearly 8,000 children have been killed in Gaza since October 7th. Does the Council agree the government should be doing everything in its power to push for an immediate ceasefire and end to all the killing, a release of all hostages and a surge in humanitarian aid to avoid full-scale famine across Gaza and protect the lives of young students like Malak?
Thank you, Martha. Councillor Holloway, if you'd like to respond.
Thank you, Martha, for your powerful words. Yes, the Council does agree. The scenes we have witnessed in the last year and a half in Gaza have been unbearable. No one, and especially no child, should be left without food or forced into starvation, and no innocent civilian should be killed. This Council has been calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza and across the Middle East for a long time, and it is even more urgent now. I know many people in Cambridge have been very deeply and personally affected by this war too. We as a council have passed a motion calling for an immediate and permanent ceasefire in Gaza, Israel and the West Bank, and for the suspension of all UK arms sales to Israel. We stand by that motion and we reaffirm its calls. As you say, Martha, that has become incredibly urgent now. We have also, through cross-party statements read out by the Mayor on several occasions, repeatedly condemned the horrific attack by Hamas on the 7th of October. We have called for an immediate ceasefire, the return of the hostages, unfettered access for humanitarian aid, peace in the Middle East, international support for a two-state solution, and the upholding of international law. We stand by all of these statements and do support the proposal that you put forward, Martha, in terms of those calls on the government, and we hope, against hope, that there might be peace in Gaza and in the Middle East.
Thank you very much, Councillor Holloway, and thank you, Martha, for raising this very, very important issue. We move on now to question 6. Simon Wilton. Is Simon present? No. So if, not quite sure who, it's Councillor Moore. If you'd like to give him a response, please.
Thank you. So the question talks about a recent revocation of Uber in London, but as far as I can tell, it's not recent. They've basically been allowed to work in London for years, and their current licence expires in March 2027. However, with regards to Cambridge, Uber are treated exactly the same as every other taxi operator. Private hire operator, I should say. They're inspected annually, which includes looking at their records, ensuring their DBSs are up to date, and if any complaints are received, then they'll be investigated and appropriate enforcement action will be taken. All drivers in Cambridge City, licensed by Cambridge City, including Uber, are required to have enhanced DBS, which is updated every 6 months, safeguarding and equalities training, a knowledge test, a medical test, driving test. They must display their badge in the vehicle. Plus, as with the operators, all complaints are investigated and appropriate action is taken, which could include being called to attend a subcommittee hearing where their licence could be revoked, suspended, or refused to be renewed. The licensing team also carry out proactive operations, including nighttime operations on their own or in conjunction with the police.
Thank you very much, Councillor Moore. Now we move on to question 7, which is Boeing Griffiths. Is Boeing here? No? Who? Can I ask, please, who will answer this one? Councillor Holloway, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the question. I'm not aware of the Taxpayers Alliance campaign locally against working from home. Some of our staff do work in a hybrid way, and this allows them to be more flexible in the way that they work, sometimes to avoid long commutes or to meet family commitments. We think that a hybrid way of working is appropriate for a modern council that cares about the well-being of its staff and wants to make sure that we are providing services to our residents in the most effective way possible.
Thank you, Councillor Holloway. And now we move on to question 8, and it's Zoe, and she's here. If you'd like to just introduce yourself and say if you're speaking as an individual or on behalf of a group. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Zoe Harding and I'm representing myself.
Thank you, and it's Councillor Moore. Thank you.
Hi Zoe, thank you very much for all your work. Oh, I think I need to sit still. Thank you very much for all the work that you've done on this, including the survey, the analysis of it, and then all your feedback at the monthly traders meetings. As you know, the team have already positively responded to one of your suggestions of having the traffic go anti-clockwise around the square instead of clockwise. However, we've absolutely heard from the beginning of this project that the traders would like to keep the scaffolding type stalls that are permanently affixed to the market square. However, one aspect of the project is to create an open space when the market is not on, essentially in the evenings, creating a space for residents to meet and enjoy the market square at the heart of the city centre, whilst also reducing the crime and antisocial behaviour which is facilitated by the stalls, which, despite the recent improvements to sightlines, still provide hiding places within them. In March this year, there were 17 crimes recorded by the police on the market square, with 5 violent or sexual crimes. The aim of the project is to maintain the 7-day-a-week market and guarantee its future at the heart of the city, which is why we've been engaging with traders throughout and responding to suggestions and feedback. Other successful markets, such as Norwich and Spitalfields, have permanent stalls which work well for traders. So we think that having a mix of the permanent and demountable stalls will allow the market to expand and contract throughout the week and throughout the seasons. However, As I've said in the previous question, the number and the design of the stalls is still being worked on by the Civic Quarter project team, and your survey provides very valuable feedback for that.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Zoe, would you like to ask a supplementary question? You have a minute.
I think if the market was cleared every night, the sight lines would be, you would be able to see it across the whole market square without any visual impact at all. As you know, there has also been more policing on Cambridge Market, which has led to a larger reporting of crime, which makes those statistics slightly biased. Also, some of the language that's been used has been very biasing, including in the consultation, where the first paragraph of the flyer stated to allow flexibility on the market square in line with demand from traders. The traders have never demanded flexibility on the market square. That language is misleading. Also within the last design feedback, the name of the market stalls is now a market stall, but they are as kiosks. They are permanent shop type buildings, and so they've changed the language. They're calling them market stalls, but they're not, they're kiosks.
Thank you, Zoe. Councillor Moore, would you like to respond?
Thank you. So with regard to language around demand, I think the meaning is more the demand for hiring a stall on set days. The stalls are there, whether there's a demand for those stalls to be used every day by a trader, rather than the traders saying, I demand this. So I think that's where the confusion over that is. With regards to kiosks, that was suggested at the last, not the last one, the one I wasn't at, but the one before, one of the traders suggested calling them kiosks. And the team, you know, this was after the engagement process, and the team then started using the term kiosks. I think it's very unfortunate that there's still such a lot of mistrust, despite all of the feedback that's been engaged with and changed in the design. However, I totally understand that that's because the market is not only a vital source of income for the traders who rely on it for their livelihoods, but also traders feel very passionately about the market. And the team understand that, and at the heart of this project is to ensure the future of the market. So I really welcome your survey. I thank you for your question here, and we will keep engaging, I'm sure, at the monthly meetings. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Moore. That concludes public questions. So thank you very much to members of the public for joining us this evening, and thank you for your questions. So I'm now proposing that we have a break. Would that be acceptable? Yeah. Oh, just Councillor.
Madam Mayor, the questioner from question 2 couldn't be available tonight, but she did ask, could the supplementary question be read out? She was advised the supplementary question would be read out, and she was hoping to see it online. So she received an email saying that it could be read out. So either could the chamber be told there was a supplementary?
Yes, by all means, but it's the question. No. That isn't the case, I'm afraid. If members are not here, the supplementary question is not read out, but they will receive a written answer. Okay.
I said we'd ask the question.
Oh, I see. Oh, well, that's too late.
Yeah. No, I said
right, so I'm suggesting now that we have a 5 to 10 minute break. Please be back promptly so that we can kick off again. Welcome back and thank you for being so prompt. So we're now, I'll just let these gentlemen take their seats. Oh dear. Are the oral questions in here? Good, so we're moving on to oral questions, item 7 now. So the questions do not need to be written out. If you would just say the number of your question and you'll receive a response, which is for 2 minutes. And then a supplementary question, you have a minute to ask and a response again for 2 minutes. So if we have our first oral question from Councillor Clough.
Question 1.
Councillor Thornborough, if you'd like to respond.
Thank you very much. The situation whereby a council applies for planning permission for development is not unique. Across the country, applications are made every day by councils for developments in their own area. The Town and Country Planning Act make no specific provisions in relation to that process. Nevertheless, in contemplation of that scenario, this council's constitution, in line with most other authorities, provides that all such applications are considered by the Planning Committee in public to enable the public to witness the consideration of the item and its decision. A comprehensive report by officers is prepared to support each application, identifying the material planning considerations and includes a recommendation in all such cases. The Council's Constitution and Code of Member Conduct also provides for clear declarations around any conflicts of interest amongst committee members. In this way, the process of decision-making can take place in the usual way as contemplated by Parliament under the Town and Country Planning Acts. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Thornborough. And Councillor Clough, do you have a supplementary question?
I do, thank you. In our professional lives, we know that it is as important to be seen to be independent as to be independent. How does it look to members of the public who put their trust in us when they see the Council's Planning Committee judging applications in which the Council itself has a financial interest? Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like to respond?
Well, the Planning Committee has to make declarations at the beginning of every committee, and those who are involved with the Council, the Cambridge Development Partnership, make a declaration if they are on the committee. Other members declare interest, as you probably know. I think our Planning Committee problem with our committee members of our planning committee deciding planning applications submitted by the Cambridge Investment Partnership. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thornborough. Now we have question 2 from Councillor Glassberg. Moore, would you like to respond?
Thank you. So I've answered some of this in the public questions, but I can confirm that the Cambridge City Council and the South Cambs Recycling, sorry, not just the council, I mean the Cambridge City Recycling from all residents is being sent to Newry in Northern Ireland for sorting. The procurement process was based on the MRF in Newry, and it was on that site that Regen won the contract. The plans for a UK mainland site were only known after the contract was signed, and so there's not been a failure, as has been suggested in the question. The Regen are still in the process of acquiring a site on the UK mainland, and so, as I said earlier, we would expect that some and hopefully all of our recycling would be sorted there once that MRF comes online. However, currently it's going to Northern Ireland. That was always part of the plan, and so far the contract is going well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Do you have a supplementary, Councillor Gasberg?
Yes, I do. It may seem to Councillor Moore that it's going well, but I think that you've probably all seen the video from the rest of our action group representing the environment. They don't think it's going well, and I actually share their view. And I also think that when this was first presented to us, we understood that it would be moving to the mainland, that the situation in Newry was a relatively temporary one. You said that it would be moving to the mainland within a few months, but it hasn't. So what pressure is being put by the council to make sure that happens? It seems to me there's a great complacency about a situation that is not at all satisfactory or sustainable.
Thank you, Councillor Gasberg. Councillor Moore, if you'd like to respond, please.
Thank you. So we send just our recycling to Regen. However, the facility there is a recycling, a MRF, as I mentioned earlier, but also they have, they take residual black bin waste from other local authorities, and they have an energy from waste plant, and they also store some of the waste there before it's managed. So the video wasn't the recycling that comes from Cambridge, and obviously I'm sure everybody in this room can understand that it's very challenging to live next door to any kind of waste facility. We know that the one at Waterbeach, just because that's the one local to us, has had lots of concerns raised by residents, because it's a challenge to live near one, and that's why the waste hierarchy, as I mentioned earlier, it's so important to reduce our waste and to reuse, even before recycling, or certainly before going to landfill. What was, as I said, the contract was won on the facility in Newry. However, we did say that within the first half of the year, we hoped that a UK mainland facility would be used. Just to be clear, that's the first half of the year of the contract. So we started in March, so we're just halfway through that half a year. So I will come back to you when the half a year is up, with hopefully before, but if not, with an update. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Moore. So now we have Councillor Blackburn-Horgan.
Question 3, please.
Thank you for the question. Officers in the Shared Planning Service working with housing and environmental health are still gathering evidence on HMOs in Cambridge. On the basis of their work, they are developing a planning policy and evidence paper for inclusion in the draft Greater Cambridge Local Plan, which will be brought forward for consideration by members in the autumn prior to a public consultation. So the public consultation would be after it's brought to the whole draft local plan would be brought to the scrutiny committee and then to be agreed by the Cabinet. The evidence will also allow subsequent consideration on whether there are any areas of the city on which a case can be made for an Article 4 direction. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Thornborough. Do you have a supplementary?
I do, yes. The HMO market in Cambridge is huge. I think we all agree our tenants deserve decent standards of housing. We are left so disappointed in Labour, who are failing our communities, as tenants' needs do not appear to be prioritised. Not only was our motion to improve this pivotal part of the housing market cut short, but no debate was allowed to ensure we discussed fully how to protect the rights of these tenants, often the most vulnerable in society. In 2013, Cambridge City Council could not identify the number of HMOs. This was repeated in 2022, with an estimated 600 to 800 HMOs not registered, and this does not include the number of three-person HMOs. So whilst we welcome Councillor Katie Thornborough's assurances that they're looking into it, can we reconfirm the date, which was supposed to be summer, for this to come to Cabinet and scrutiny? We ask her to add this as a priority to the forward plan, including the outcomes of the report, reviewing a landlord register, whether an Article 4 directive is possible within the context of the local plan, and that 2-bed plus HMOs are included in planning policy for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. So now we move on to question 4. It's Councillor Illingworth, please. Oh, I beg your pardon. I forgot. Councillor Thornborough, if you'd like to respond first of all.
So in my answer to the public question, I did state that there were, I think there was over 800 registered licensed HMOs. There are also hundreds of student homes which come under they're part of shared housing accommodation. And the original question, when we were asked about the reason for an Article 4, that was in consideration of disruption caused by HMOs. That is a lot of work to us, and the shared planning and the Housing and Environmental Health Department are working hard to get this information. The summer has not finished. They are working hard on this information, and in due course it will go to a scrutiny committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Thornborough. And now we move to Councillor Illingworth.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Question 4, please.
Councillor Smart, would you like to respond?
Yep. So graffiti is illegal, it spoils property and can be costly to remove. We're responsible for removing graffiti from public property and buildings, monuments or street furniture such as benches. We do not have a duty to remove graffiti on private property. We aim to remove offensive graffiti within 1 day of receiving a report and all other graffiti within 5 days. Our team works between 6 AM and 4 PM every day. Offensive graffiti includes anything that might be considered racist, sexist, obscene or inflammatory. So the current service standard, as said, is offensive graffiti in 1 working day if it be reported, and all other graffiti within 5 working days. Our operations team works hard to meet these response times and prioritise offensive or hate-related graffiti in line with our values and enforcement policy. In the past calendar year, July 24, July 25, the service has received 1,136 reports of graffiti, of which 283 were classed as offensive. Performance monitoring data indicates that of the 274 offensive graffiti matters, 44% were removed within 1 working day, and of the 820 detrimental graffiti items, 84% were removed within the 5 working day limit. So where graffiti delays have occurred, they are typically been due to access issues. So graffiti located on private property requiring consent, or in cases where specialist removal equipment is needed for surfaces such as brick or historic stonework.
Thank you, Councillor Smart. Councillor Illingworth, do you have a supplementary?
No, that's okay, thanks.
Thank you very much. So now question 5 from Councillor Bick.
Question 5.
Councillor Holloway, if you'd like to respond, please.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bick, for your question on this sensitive issue. As a council, we want to support everyone, and that includes trans people, to live safely, free from discrimination and with dignity. On this specific question, we as a public body must follow the law. As it stands, legislation on access to single-sex services and facilities has not changed. We are awaiting legal guidance from the Equality and Human Rights Commission following the Supreme Court ruling.
Thank you, Councillor Holloway. Councillor Bick, would you like to ask a supplementary?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Supreme Court said that the minority of transgender people with a gender recognition certificate cannot assume the rights of those of the opposite biological sex. That may not be welcome, but that much was clear. But all transgender people continue to have these rights, under the Equality Act, which haven't disappeared. The judgment has somehow given rise to moves to treat them as if they have. It's hugely disappointing and divisive to see the Secretary of State, with that responsibility, encourage this with her comments. I see nothing in the judgment, for example, to change the well-established right of transgender women with or without gender recognition certificates to use separate women's public toilets as a proportionate means to a legitimate end under the Equality Act. And that's been recognised in this city, so far as I'm aware, without a problem ever. To reverse this is more likely to create a problem and expose transgender people to increased challenge and jeopardy. The small transgender community, as you say, is highly vulnerable, and in matters such as this, it expects and is surely entitled to live and let live with dignity. I'd urge the leader to stand aside from the Secretary of State's rather hasty comments and also treat with scepticism some of the assumptions that are made in the current consultation exercise by the Equality and Human Rights Commission.
Thank you, Councillor Bick. Councillor Holloway, if you'd like to respond, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bick. I mean, I agree with much of what you've said in that statement, and I think we both agree that trans people deserve to live with dignity, free from discrimination, regardless of whatever comments are made. The City Council is committed to supporting LGBTQ plus people. That's as simple as that. We'll continue to follow the Equality Act and any further legislation to enable all communities in Cambridge to be safe and to feel included.
Thank you very much, Councillor Holloway. That concludes oral questions for this evening. So now we move to agenda item 8, pages 35 to 84, and the recommendations which are on page 35. Councillor Smith, would you like to introduce this item, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. But before I start, I would just like to endorse...
Excuse me, Councillor Smith. Councillor Tong.
Apologies for the delay. I was just double checking which item it was. I will be recusing myself. Do I need to specify the reason, or? No. I'm recusing myself.
Thank you, Councillor Tong. Councillor Smith, please continue.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to endorse the comments made by Councillor Bick and Councillor Holloway in relation to trans rights and the tolerance that we respect everybody in our city. I'll speak to the general fund element of the 24-25 outturn report at page 35 of the gender pack, and my colleague Councillor Bird will speak to the HRA element. I'll say a few general things first. So the first thing is that the report forms part of the Council's statutory and constitutional responsibilities for financial sustainability and monitoring budgetary compliance. And the Cabinet is recommending the Council to note the final net underspend of 3.76 million, which will be transferred to the Civic Quarter Reserve as agreed by Strategy and Resources in February, and approve the carry forward of the General Fund capital budgets totalling 55 million, together with the 2.1 million of associated General Fund revenue funding. The carry forward will enable the capital projects to be progressed, which is why the Cabinet is recommending this to the Council. And these are listed at Appendix A4 of the agenda pack. Most of the big ticket items demonstrate that this Council is investing and delivering on its pledge for a net zero future for people and the planet. This contrasts with others who oppose sustainable development whilst masquerading as environmentalists. I'll just mention a few. So 3.5 million for City Services new depot and £382,000 for the Silver Street toilets, both schemes nearing completion. 1.48 million to Progressive Civic Quarter, 2 million to Progressive Civic Quarter through to RIBA Stage 3. There's 32 million against works at Park Street, which is nearing completion. And there's also, pleased to report 4.6 million to be paid pending inspections against completed works under the Home Upgrade Grant HUG 2. and a £905,000 CPCA grant for domestic energy efficiency and low carbon heating. And sustainable investment in Abbey, at the Abbey Leisure Complex, part of a £750,000 allocation for decarbonisation of the pool, 839,000 for a new 3G pitch, 168,000 for a new community room at East Barnwell. These are, just wanted to just refer to the general fund revenue budget and record the net underspend, of which most is accounted for by higher than interest income based on higher interest rates and balances. The outturn income from business rates is £1 million lower due to the settlement of a significant number of allowed appeals leading to backdated funds. So I'll conclude there. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. So, do we have any debate? Councillor Bennett.
Hi, I think it's well known that we don't approve of the Civic Quarter project, but we would be happy to vote in favour of items 2B and C if the vote could be split.
I'll take a look at that, Councillor Bennett. Is there anybody else who would like to speak, or are we all content? Councillor...
To confirm, this is just for the general fund portion of it. I understood Councillor Bird was going to introduce the HRA portion. Is that correct?
I can't hear you.
I think Dominus has confirmed that's fine.
This is just the general fund, yes? Yeah. I'm happy to split the vote. But Councillor Smith, do you think that's the right thing to do?
Madam Mayor, I think split the vote, but take the vote at the end.
Yeah, that's right. So if you'd like to wrap up your argument, then nobody else wants to speak.
Yes, thank you very much. I just wanted to conclude about the general fund reserves. These stood at 18 million at the 31st of March in this year, and the forecast outturn is 21.9 million, 31st of March 2026. The prudent minimum balance is set at 6.5 million with a target of 7.85. And it's expected the fair funding review will replace the council's business rate retention monies with a smaller increase in the council's core spending power due to population growth. And I would point out that recommendation 2A, which is the one which it appears Greens are not going to support, actually relates to the funding in there. I think that's funding towards a lot of sustainable development investments that we are making, which underlines the point I made earlier. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Moy, did you want to make a point?
Yes, since we're taking the vote separately on the Civic Quarter, I just wanted to speak very briefly in favour of the Guildhall's part of it specifically, because I understand that's where the concern is. Obviously, I've spoken quite a bit about the market, and obviously I'm in favour of the Corn Exchange, but the works on the Guildhall that are planned will make it net zero in its operations, and this is an important part of us becoming a net zero carbon council by 2030. The works will align with the city centre district heat network, and I hope that everyone will vote in favour of that, because it's a really important part of our climate change policy, as I say, to become a net zero carbon council. And the project perfectly highlights the co-benefits of work on to mitigate climate change, the benefits to our staff by being comfortable, not freezing in the winter and boiling hot in the summer, and by opening the downstairs up to residents. So please support that part. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. So now I'm proposing then that from the recommendations on page 35, we first of all vote on...
The recommendations, half of them refer to the HRA, don't they? So surely we should discuss the HRA portion before we vote on the recommendations.
The debate was for everything, so nobody asked to...
No, that's literally what I confirmed with the monitoring officer.
Me, the notes said not clear, so I'll just sort it out.
Has departed from the script.
So, Councillor Bird, would you like to speak on the HRA part?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think the confusion is usually they're separate papers, but it's joined together this year. The HRA net overspend of 2.3 million on operating positions, including 3.6 million overspend on repairs and maintenance, offset by a reduction in corporate recharges of 0.6 million, an additional service charge of income of 0.6 million. Overspend on repairs is challenging for DCM, and the fire concerns are not going away. Offset against the 2.3 million operating overspend, we have saved 1.3 million in interest costs due to borrowing less following capital slippage. This is a short-term gain. Works will go ahead, money will still need to be borrowed, but reduces the net overspend in year before capital financing is 1.0 million. In the HRA, we are deliberately running close to target reserves levels, with excess cash applied to fund capital expenditure and reduce the need to borrow. We have therefore found to reduce the revenue contribution to capital by 0.9 million to stay above our target reserves level. This means more borrowing and higher interest costs in the future. Capital, no huge variance after carry forward slippage continues to be an issue on both general fund and HRA. We'll address over the summer with critical review of programme and phasing. Given the uncertainties above and the announcements in the CSR, I have proposed an in-depth review of our 30-year business plan to take place over the summer. We talked about this last year, but didn't think we can avoid it any longer. No concerns over short-term sustainability, but difficult conversations coming about capital programme, what is generally affordable and where our priorities lie, decent and safe homes versus retrofit versus new homes. The stark reality is we won't be able to do it all, or at least not as quickly as we would like. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bird. Now, do we have any discussion or debate for Councillor Bird? Councillor Martinelli.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I will speak to the HRA section on this item, which I see as a really significant report. As with any budget outturn, of course, there's much good work contained within these numbers. However, the variances are on this occasion, I think, quite dramatic and unfortunately underline a lot of what our group has been saying in this chamber over the last decade. Specifically, what we can see very clearly is that historical underspends in repairs and maintenance have led to progressive deterioration in the state of this city's council housing stock, which we must now pay more to fix. the definition, councillors, of a false economy. There is a nearly £3 million overspend in this budget, of which a staggering £1.6 million relates to day-to-day repairs, and many hundreds of thousands of pounds more relate to the poor state of voids returned to the council. The human cost of these failures is really important. It means at best tenants are living in substandard accommodation, and at worst living in accommodation which may well be endangering their health. Sadly, we did predict this and have proposed fixes on many occasions over the years, which have been ignored. In our budget amendments over the last 5 years, we have made proposals for asset management officers to tackle the backlog in decent homes work, which would have brought some of our council housing stock up to better standard. We've pushed for additional damp condensation and mould surveyors, which could well have mitigated some of the massive increase in legal claims this council is now facing on this issue. And we've highlighted at every opportunity the increase in complaints and called for a specific review of the maintenance standards as early as 2021. Successive executive councillors have ignored red flag after red flag after red flag. Now we are having to borrow more to pay for these failures, mortgaging our city's future. The one offset seems to be that we're not having to borrow quite as much as we might have to because our capital programme is slipping further and further behind schedule. Given that we know from other recent reports that around 50% of the council's housing stock has shockingly not even been surveyed, leaving us with another £1 million+ bill, I can only see that this will worsen over time. The in-depth review that Councillor Bird mentions was highlighted by the outgoing Director of HRA Finance last September, and I was assured by officers on a number of occasions it would be bringing through. But of course, as you almost alluded to there, you've tried to avoid it, and now it appears that can no longer happen. Will the executive take responsibility for, as the recent officers' report put it, not consistently prioritising maintenance of their tenants' homes?
Thank you, Councillor Minelli. Is there Martinelli, I beg your pardon. And any other? So Councillor Holloway, Councillor Ashton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to point out that...
Sorry, it was... Is that, oh no, he's happy. It was Councillor Holloway, but he's happy for you to... No, it's happy for you to carry on as you're there, and then Councillor Holloway.
No, I'd like to just point out, for those who weren't councillors when we took over, that the Lib Dems have started a house building programme, and when we took over, these new houses that were wonderful, we couldn't actually get people to move in because they were substandard. So there was 2 major housing ones on Water Lane and in Cherrington where major works had to be overtaken to put new property in a habitable state. So yes, there's more we can do, but we faced a catalogue of trying to catch up as well. So hopefully we're catching up and making big strides now going forward.
Thank you, Councillor Ashton. Councillor Holloway.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The vast majority of the homes that we look at as to whether they are reaching the decent home standard, they reach that standard. So yes, there is a challenge in terms of the stock condition survey. We've now commissioned that survey. Well, we've gone out to procurement. We've said we will go out to procurement for that survey. We're taking action to make sure that we understand the condition of our stock. However, that's not because our stock is at a really poor level. We actually, when we look at the decent home standard, our houses are doing very well. We do have challenges, and we admit that. And Councillor Bird is open about the challenges that we face. She also has a very good understanding of the types of circumstances that some of our tenants are living in. However, in our recent transformation process, we absolutely prioritised housing repairs and maintenance. That was one of the key areas where we did put more frontline resources, and it is an area where we want to make improvements to save money ourselves, but also, crucially, to make sure that our tenants are able to live safely, warm and healthily. That's really, really important to us. We know that not every tenant has the conditions that we would want. We take that very seriously, but we are doing our best to get through the backlog that we have, and we're putting resources into this. This is a priority for us.
Thank you, Councillor Holloway. Councillor Young.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have 2 residents in my ward who have had discussions about repairs to their homes that have lasted over a year, almost as long as I've been a councillor. And if the repair is small and quick to do, that seems to be happen reasonably quickly. But these are complex things, and it's I find it completely unbelievable that they have not been fixed. It's missed appointments, not being informed what's happening, repairs being done, and then the next repair that's required undoing the previous repair. It's completely shocking, and I've escalated these to very high levels, and it's still not being sorted out. I welcome the acceptance of responsibility from the ruling group, but we've heard this many times, and I have some doubt that it's going to be sorted out. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Young. I think that's everybody. So, Councillor Bird, did you want to have a right to reply?
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, Mayor. I do get angry sometimes with the way the opposition says about our housing. We've got some good housing. Yes, there's some that need some repairs and there may be a few problems, but any council would have that same problem. We're doing everything we possibly can for our tenants to have decent homes. A tenant satisfaction was, with our role as a social landlord, has risen to 73%, the highest in 4 years, and above some other councils around the country. So how can you say that our council houses are bad? They're not bad. Some have a bit of damp, but then we go there within 24 hours to do the repair. But when we get there, we might find there's other repairs which are causing the damp, or it could be the tenant causing the damp. So please don't keep saying our council homes are in a state, because they're not. We have some really good housing. On top of that, the two tenants who've not had any work done for a year, please send their details to me and I'll get on to it for you, because I won't have that for any tenant. That a year is too long, and I will look into that for you. But like I say, most of our tenants are happy. But one other problem I will say is tenants do not report the repair straight away. So it gets worse and gets worse. And then when we get to the point of actually getting in the house, if they let us in, it's in the right state. So I would ask if there's any tenants listening to this tonight, please tell us that you've got problems and we'll come and do it. Or even contact me myself. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bird. Right, I think we're ready to move to the vote. So if you can look on page 35 then, there is first of all vote on item 1 to note the outturn report and the underspend. Then we'll move on to item 2 and we'll take 3 votes on that one. So first of all, yeah? Very delicate voting system this evening. We're nursing it. Okay, so first of all then, please, could you vote on item 1 to note the outturn report, including the final net underspend on page 35. Councillors Smith and Jones. Councillor Anna Smith and... it worked. Oh, progress. Excellent. Thank you very much. Item 1 is carried with 23 votes, 3 against and 11 abstentions. So now we're going to item 2, and the first vote is to approve the carry forward of general fund capital budgets. So if you would like to vote on that one, please. Where am I? Oh, I'm right at the top, that's fine. Right, that's okay. Just checking. That vote is carried by 23 votes, 3 against, 11 abstentions. Can we now vote on 2B, the carry forward of 280,000 of housing revenue account?
It's 2.6. It's too late. It's not yet there.
Just wait one. Oh, right, I think we're there. Yep. And that one is carried by 25 votes, none against and 12 abstentions. And now, when the machine is ready, we will vote.
Hugh and Elliot haven't voted.
No, he is reclused himself.
Yes, it was a yes.
Ah, thank you, Councillor Clough. Right, so it's 26 and 12 abstentions, no votes against. Right, so now we are on to the last one? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so 2C, which is the carry forward of the housing revenue account capital budgets, as set out in Appendix B4. Councillor McPherson, have you voted? Right, that's everybody now, isn't it? Yep. So that vote is carried by 26 votes in favour and no votes against and 12 abstentions. Good. So that concludes item 8. So we now move on to item 9. We're doing all right. So first of all then, this one will be a little bit complicated because there are 2 amendments and I'll talk you through it as we go. So first of all then, I would like Councillor McPherson to present the chair of the committee. You have up to 3 minutes. Is that...
It's Councillor Robertson, actually.
So, Councillor Robertson, you're going to present. Thank you very much. You have up to 3 minutes.
Thank you. Now, there are 3 issues here. The first one about the pay, the allowance for the leader of the council. Now, in the view of the independent panel, the leader is ultimately responsible for the discharge of all executive functions of the council. The leader is the principal policy maker and has personal authority to determine delegated powers to the rest of the executive. The leader is also responsible for the appointment and dismissal of members of the executive and their respective areas of responsibility. That's all they really say on the matter of what the leader's allowance should be. But what they seem to have overlooked is the vast amount of work that we expect of our leader nowadays. what's missing is all the, for instance, steering through the change of governance to the full cabinet and scrutiny model, completion of the transformation programme, continued engagement as a board member of the Greater Cambridge Partnership, continued engagement with the CPCA, continued management of the joint venture with Hill for new housing at a scale exceeding most other councils in the country. He also is ensuring our involvement with the government proposals for large-scale housing development in and around Cambridge through participation in the Cambridge Growth Company. He's also doing reorganisation of local government involving merger of the City Council to form a Unitary with one, possibly two, other district councils. And he's also managing the joint venture with Anglian Water for the development of the new North East Quarter, Arbury. That is why we need to pay this leader of ours the proper rate. And that is why we are proposing to increase it by 4 times the basic allowance that the panel came up with. Then we move on to the matter of the number of supplementary allowances that each one person can have. It has been the rule of this council for many years that no more than 3 should be payable to any one person. The panel got it into their heads that they wanted to reduce it to just 1 per person, 1 supplementary to their basic. The reasons they came up with for this is to improve transparency of the scheme of allowances. Now, quite how that works, I'm not sure, and perhaps you won't either. The panel recommended that 1 additional allowance should be paid, and only 1, based on the fact that the public should be able to ascertain the actual level of remuneration for an individual councillor from a reading of the scheme of allowances. Well, it's no different from the way if we allow more than 1 per person. They also said that they were concerned that there was an anomaly if the leader received a lower allowance than other councillors. Well, frankly, you know, if the job's got to be done, then somebody should do it. And if they don't do it, then somebody else will do it. So there's no saving in any of this. If we give 2 allowances to 1 person or 3 allowances, that work has to be done. Whether it's done by them or somebody else, it still has to be done. So why not pay the person who is doing the work? So those are the basic reasons for our wishing to change the figures. Now, I think...
Yeah.
Do you want me to wait?
Councillor Robertson, that's your 3 minutes.
I'll carry on with the amendment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, we have 2 amendments to this amendment. The way it will work is that the first amendment will come from Councillor Dale, and that will be presented and seconded, although the second can reserve their right. Then we will hear the second amendment. Then we will debate, and the debate will cover everything that anybody wants to say. And then we vote on the first amendment, then the second amendment, and then we vote on the final, whether it's amended or whatever, the final report. Is that clear? That seems to be what we're supposed to do, so we'll give it a go. Okay, so now we have an amendment to Councillor Robertson's report, which is from Councillor Dale. So, and that's on page 17 in your information pack. So, Councillor Dale, you have 3 minutes to present.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I rise to move an amendment that effectively rejects the core recommendations but finds another path forward. And it seeks to maintain the allowances that were agreed in May following the Independent Remuneration Panel's review. This Labour administration is developing quite some form on council allowances. In May, they tried overriding the independent panel to serve themselves with higher pay, but they retreated in what the press called scenes of confusion. But now we're back again, and now we're targeting a 55% pay rise for their leader. Not 5%, not 15%, 55%. And I think it is relevant, when we've been discussing that leadership, to look at examining Labour's recent leadership chaos. Since October 21, under 4 years, Labour has burned through 4 leaders. Their long-serving leader retired and Councillor Anna Smith took over, but only to be ousted by Councillor Mike Davey after 18 months. Now, Councillor Davey has since stood down after 2 years, but now Councillor Holloway
I think we have a point
apparently
of
needs
order,
a
Councillor Dale.
55% pay rise to make this job
Councillor
viable.
Dale, we have a point of order. If you would take a pause, please. Councillor Davey, did you want to make your point of order?
Point of order is this is nothing to do with his amendment. It's a political cheapskate nonsense, and I'm not quite sure why this would want to waste time discussing this particular point he's making.
If you let me continue,
I think I
explain.
agree with you, Councillor Davey. Could you please keep to the point, Councillor
Yes,
Dale?
well, so under these 4 leaders, previously they've accepted the role, knowing what would be paid. Smith didn't need 55% more. Davey obviously took the job at the existing rate, but now, under Councillor Holloway, apparently we can't make it work without that increase. Now, meanwhile, Labour are cutting services. We've got public toilets being closed, the folk festival being cancelled, we're seeing reductions in street cleaning. Whilst the ruling group votes their leader a 55% pay rise. That is important, and how is it fair? The IRP exists precisely so politicians don't vote themselves pay rises. They recommended, quite generously, 17%, but Labour wants that to be 55%. And they're now destroying the independent oversight when it doesn't suit them. Now, I think this is wrong in principle and wrong in practice, because it destroys the constitutional safeguards, whilst also we have to try and explain to residents why they're paying more council tax for fewer services, but we're asking for pay rises for our leaders. I therefore move that this council rejects that 55% increase, maintains the allowances at the IRP's recommendation, and commits to respecting that oversight going forward. Labour's own councillors argued for this approach last time. Our amendment simply applies what members across the chamber wanted when we discussed this last. So, to Labour councillors, when you next knock on doors, be honest. Tell residents that you voted for a 55% increase for your leader whilst cutting their services, and see how that goes down. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dale. Now, Councillor Porritt, I understand you're seconding this. Did you want to speak now or reserve your right?
I would like to reserve my right, please, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. So now we move to the second amendment, and I understand that I have Richard Robertson, but I think no. So the second amendment, who is presenting that? Is it that we don't have a second amendment?
You're talking about our amendment?
Yeah.
So I thought you meant his, sorry.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Robertson.
Can I just check when you're going to deal with the second amendment that they have put forward?
I'm going to present it now, and then we will debate it. We will debate them all. So your original report was...
Sorry, on the additional papers, it says there are 2 amendments from the Liberal Democrats.
Yeah, so the original report, then the amendment is to do with it being backdated, I believe.
Yes, that's correct. What I'm asking is when the third amendment, the one they put forward, when will that be brought to us? Is that, I mean, I thought they would do those two together. It doesn't matter, I'll get on with ours if you like.
I'm not aware of a third amendment, and it certainly didn't come in time, so I don't think there is
2 amendments. I haven't talked about that one yet.
So if you'd like to present your amendment,
Sure,
please, Councillor Robertson.
When the matter came to the council on the AGM on the 22nd of May, we hadn't finalised the figures. We went away and worked out what actually was necessary. What we're asking now is for the new changes we're proposing to come into effect from the same time as the rest of the allowances this year. That is from the date of the AGM on the 22nd of May. That is the reason for it. It's very clear. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Robertson. Councillor Gawthorpe-Wood, I understand you are seconding this motion. Did you want to speak now or reserve your right?
I am seconding it, and I'll reserve my right.
Thank you. So, do we now have any debate? And please bear in mind that this is on the original report and on both amendments. If you could, when you speak, make it just clear which you are discussing. Thank you. Councillor Tom, Councillor Davey.
Good evening. Now, I am responding to the initial report here, however, also tangentially the debate in general. Now, fair pay is immensely important to me. I think everyone does deserve fair pay for their work, and I would never say anything to the contrary. The issue is, whose pay are we prioritising? Because, well, firstly, many people who work for the council are struggling. It's a rather thankless job at times. And on top of that, we have many residents that are struggling too. So the question is, why is it acceptable for the leader of the council to prioritise their own comfort in this situation? It comes across as absolutely shameless when so many people are struggling that we are seeing taxpayer money gorged on just to make sure our leader is comfortable. I think the worst thing about it, in my mind, is that the leader is able to hide behind officers and their colleagues to push this proposal forward. They're not even coming out and asking for this payment themselves. Residents are already so distrustful of the council and feel that the council, well, there's a lot of cynicism about local government, a lot of accusations of corruption. And even though I don't think that is true, I think the rules are followed. The issue is things like this don't particularly help that perception. If we want to regain public trust, we need to make sure that taxpayer money is going towards the services they care about. So, again, this is absolutely egregious. It is really insulting to residents.
Excuse me, Councillor Tong, I'm getting the sense that you need to say you have found this perception, because I don't think other members have found that perception from the members of public. So if you could just correct that, please, to say that you have found
Of which statement, sorry?
The perception that they don't trust the council.
Okay, apologies, I'll clarify.
Because that is just you.
Yeah, no, it's good. Well, it's definitely not me. Having spoken to residents all across the city, I've consistently seen real distrust in the council. And I'll be honest, I imagine a lot of my colleagues all around the room feel, but yeah, there's nods. I'm happy to discuss this further, and I do appreciate that the fact that people really don't trust the council and do think politicians locally, specifically the ruling group, are being self-serving. And I think it is important to highlight, from my experience, that is the perception that I think not only exists, but is actively being reinforced by the fact this money is just being greedily squirreled away by our leader.
Thank you, Councillor Tong. Now, I would just like to say to members that we have our guillotine at 9:10 because we started at 6:10, unfortunately, but that is only 15 minutes away. I have quite a long list of people who would like to speak, so please, if you could be as succinct as possible, and then hopefully we will complete this debate without having to venture into extra time. Thank you. So now, Councillor Davey, please.
Yeah, two things to start. I'm not quite sure where Councillor Tom gets his notion we're hiding behind officers, because obviously this is our proposal, so that's clearly nonsensical. And as for James' percentage figures for an accountant, I look forward to seeing how they are worked out, whereas one can be 17% and one 55%. Absolute nonsense. If I go back to the facts of why we want to push this, in 2025, as the leader, I got £26,750. The national real living wage in 2025 was £25,400. So there's a difference of about £1,500. And that's to be the political leader in the city that most perceived is the most central focused city in the country. Okay? Now, don't get me wrong, it was a huge honour. I loved it. It was a fantastic honour to be the leader of this city. But that's 7 days a week. That's over 50 hours a week. That's no holidays, and you're on constant call. So in terms of reality about what the job entails, it's more than I ever worked when I was a council officer earning, 5 times as much. That's the first bit here. And it's the political leader. It's not Robert that's on the front page of the Evening News or the Independent. It's me, all right? So there's a wholly different element here. And why I am so in favour of this proposal is that the core of this is about equal opportunities and equal rights. Equal opportunities and equal rights. So for me, I could, because I was a relatively wealthy pensioner who got a good amount of money following years of service as a county councillor. But if you are the leading wage earner in your family, if you are a woman who's looking after their children, if you're a single parent, you're essentially excluded from being the leader of the council, which is an absurd position to be in because it means that people of enormous talent can't actually afford to be the leader of the council. So when you talk about us burying our money in our pockets to being, in your words, Elliot, corrupt, cynical, actually what I'm saying here is this is about equal opportunity for everybody so that in the main, women can actually apply to do this job without requiring the pensions that's required. If you want to have councils run by old blokes like me with big pensions, this is what you'll get if you maintain this allowance rate. So the reason why now we're not following the independence rate, and going back to Jamie's weird figures, we're asking for an extra £7,000 on top of what's already proposed by the independent review panel. And that is to ensure that people, everybody, can actually apply to do the job. Because unfortunately, and we have huge experience of this, Councillor Pora, of people who can't apply because they can't afford to do it. So therefore, you need to pay people properly. This is about equal rights and equal opportunity. And lo and behold, anybody forgets that. Thank you.
Councillor Shield.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've just Googled the national average salary. Other search engines are available. Ecosia is a good one. According to this, 37,430 per year. And then on page 88, I'm seeing that the proposed change would take the leader's salary to 31,276, so around £6,000 less than the national UK average gross salary. So I hope I've understood that correctly. Please tell me if I haven't. But I suppose my question to the chamber would be, it's kind of a question, it's kind of an appeal. Do we really think that it's not appropriate for the leader of Cambridge City Council to have a salary that at least approaches the UK national average? So it's still well below the UK national average to be the leader of Cambridge City Council. Please can we all just think about that for a minute? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Shield. Councillor Hussain, if you could be brief, please.
Thank you, Madam. I was a little bit surprised how the honorary or expense allowance is set up for the councillors across UK. Because Cambridge is officially one of the second expensive city for the living, rent, travel, childcare, and the food, everything. But if we compare London, the allowance is £12,499, and Birmingham £19,952, and Bradford £15,500. How this independent body was settled the figure of every councillor who working so hard in day and night to helping their community, and their allowance becomes only £7,819.
Thank you, Councillor Hussain. Councillor Ashton, if you could also be brief, as you have already spoken as well.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm speaking on the amendment from Councillor Dale. 2 months ago, there was a vote in this chamber, and many years ago, a great man said, let your yes be yes and your no be no. And this chamber voted unanimously to accept the independent remuneration panel. There was no abstentions, there was no vote against, it was a vote to accept it. The question is, why did we not convince the independent panel of these fantastic rights we should have? My gripe with the independent panel is that they say to us we should do our work for a 40% reduction of what we're allowed. So if they got rid of that 40%, paid the basic councillors what we should be paid, then the leader of this council on 3 times that would get what he needed. So we need to go back to the panel, as it's being said, and our residents can see we have a just case. It's not right that we just turn around and say, I'm voting this through. And we have a declaration of interest, and people are voting for increases for themselves, not for everybody in this chamber. So people should declare that interest to say, this will affect me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ashton. Councillor Gardner-Smith.
I'll be brief, Madam Mayor, because I think Councillor Davey said a lot of what I wanted to say. But I would say to Councillor Tong, when you talk about people's lack of faith in democracy, I think one of the things that makes people lose faith in democracy is councillors playing politics with serious issues. And it does feel to me that whipping up concern over these issues and playing politics with very serious issues about fair pay, as you would say, Councillor Tong, fair pay for fair work, is irresponsible.
Thank you, Councillor Gardner-Smith. I will say... okay.
I just wanted to clarify for the record, I never said residents have a lack of faith in democracy. I specifically said they have a lack of faith in you.
Okay, well, I think... Thank you. Now, I'm just going to the last couple of people who haven't spoken. You have already spoken a lot, and that is, in the end, is good practice because we are on a very, very tight time now, Councillor Clough, and you have already spoken this evening. So I'm going to go to Councillor Smith and Councillor Wade, and then we have to debate whether we're going to have the continuation. Thank you. So, Councillor Smith, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For me, I think our council needs to represent our whole community, and I feel extremely strongly that the role of the leader should not be the preserve of those with private means or ultra-flexible jobs. No one should have to refuse the role of leader if elected because they can't pay their rent or feed their family if they take it up. And nor should being leader of this council have to be a part-time job. I believe to do this job properly, you should be able to concentrate on it fully. And I know that from experience, because when I was leader, I had to juggle the role with a paid job. Now, I was very lucky. I had a decent level of flexibility, and I'm very grateful to my employers for giving me that. But it wasn't at all ideal, and I know I could have done so much more if I'd been able to commit the 60+ hours that a role like this deserves without having to take a second job in order to pay the bills. And I think it is worth being clear, because we talk about percentage increases, but Councillor Shields has already mentioned what we're looking at is a leader's allowance minus the backbench allowance we all receive of just over £30,000. That's £30,000 for a full-time job with very, very long hours. Now, I have to say, I think some of the personalised comments in this debate have been a bit shocking this evening, because I think all of us in this room have made very significant sacrifices to serve our communities. I'll give you an example from my own experience. I gave 4 months to be acting mayor of Cambridgeshire and Peterborough without a single penny of remuneration from the combined authority to do that job. I don't want anyone else to be in that position in any of the authorities we serve. It is just not good enough. And if we want this chamber to be more than a side hustle for the better off, we need to ensure that our councillors, and especially our council leaders, are remunerated accordingly.
Councillor Wade.
Just to echo some points of Councillor Smith, equity means an equal chance of success, an acknowledgement that we all have different starting points in life, to give the opportunity for more representation from all residents of life, to enable voices from all backgrounds and financial situations. a place in this chamber to help build their future, to be a reflection of the people we serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wade. Now, just to make it clear, the duration of the meeting is now almost up and we have to vote on whether we are going to extend. At the moment, I've got Councillor Clough, Councillor Porra wanting to speak. And then we have the seconders. Now, that means that we will not have time to discuss, if we go through that procedure, we will not have time to discuss the final two motions. So I think that's what you need to have to decide, whether you want to actually, I appreciate that you, obviously as a seconder, you will want to speak, but the rest of you, if you really feel that it hasn't been covered, then you must speak. But please be aware that it means that we will probably have to pass the motions, the last two motions, without any discussion because we have a guillotine. So just to make you aware. So I've got time to take those two and then we must go to the vote, okay? Yeah, and Councillor Holloway, did you want to just... Is it that you want to speak or that you want to... Yeah, so I've got you down then, and then we go to the seconders. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but that's all they've got. Yeah, that's right. Okay then, so I'm getting the sense that you want to continue with your debate. So I'll go to Councillor Clough. We have 2 minutes and then we have to vote. Okay, so if you can be brief.
Right, thank you. Mine is more of a question for clarification. I've got one basic allowance of 7,819, a leader's allowance of 31,276, and a GCP allowance of 3,519. Are there any other numbers that I'm missing? Perhaps somebody could explain to me what they are. Clearly, this is a very serious issue and it's caused a lot of rancor tonight, but I'd like to know exactly what numbers we are voting on. Thank you.
So now I'm going to go to Councillor Holloway, please.
Thank you very much for the chance to speak. I've listened carefully to the debate and clearly there have been several comments aimed at me, so thought I'd better respond to those. It's been said before, but the current allowance for the leader of Cambridge City Council is £23,459. That's for the specific role of leader, in addition to the money that we all receive for our general council work. That's below the national living wage if we assume a 37.5-hour week. Realistically, the leader works 60 plus hours per week. Leadership roles like this one should be open to all. They should not discriminate against people of working age, people with children, people who do not have alternative sources of income. So we will do the right thing today to make the leaders' pay more equitable, but we will also continue to do the right thing every day to support people in real need in this city and beyond.
Thank you, Councillor Holloway, and Councillor Payne, just time for you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll be brief. I just wanted to respond to the point that's been raised around the faith in the council and how the public perceive the council at the moment. And I think one of the exact things which would make the public question their faith in our city council is seeing the ruling group in the Labour administration install a new leader and then a day later demand a 55% pay rise and have the audacity to demand a pay rise that would actually take that position to far above the basic salary of most nurses and most teachers. None of us on this side of the chamber are naive. We understand that the role we all play in local democracy is quite significant, and I know there are members of our group, I'm sure there are members of all the other groups as well, who've actually taken steps back from their working hours, who've said no thank you to promotions, who've made significant changes to their lifestyle in order to fulfil those democratic duties. That people are willing to do that is absolutely huge, and therefore we're not naive. That's why we supported the findings of the independent remuneration panel. We believe it's right, it's proper, there is a due process to ensure those council allowances are evaluated fairly and properly. But I think when the ruling group then has the audacity to turn around and ask for a pay rise that would take one individual to far above the average salary of many public sector workers in this city, that is quite shocking, particularly in the same meeting, Councillor Davey, in the same meeting that we've heard tales of council houses crumbling around their ears. I think for many members of the public, this would be absolutely deplorable. The chaos we then see that a few days later, Labour's amendment then brings back a suggestion not just to make this allowance go forward, but also to backdate it, to eke out every single pence they can, is absolutely shameful.
Thank you. Now, the meeting time has now expired. Our options now are to vote for an extension, which will then enable the seconders to speak and for us to take the vote. But it only lasts for 30 minutes. After that, we either go straight to the vote on the motions or we have to reconvene another meeting, which I don't think anybody wants to do. So I now call for a vote, please, on whether we extend this meeting for another 30 minutes or whether we go straight to the vote on these amendments. Okay, so is that all right, James? Thank you. So we are voting on whether to extend this meeting for another 30 minutes or go straight to the vote. No, we voted, the vote yes means to extend the meeting. Okay. So, according to my reckoning, we have voted to extend the meeting by 30 minutes. Quite please pay attention. By 32 votes, 6 people against, no abstentions. So I now propose that we go to the seconders of the first and second amendment and then right of reply to the original, whether it's amended or not. Okay, so I'm now go to you, Councillor Porra, to second your amendment. Could you make it, and this was the first amendment that was proposed by Councillor Dale.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. And I direct my comments to the Labour group because it isn't fair to necessarily pick on one individual. This is your decision as a group. I cannot accept this. It went to the independent review panel. So I have 3 questions. Did you make the case to the IRP? This was before Councillor Holloway's time as leader. If you did, they must have rejected your request. So then what happened? Did you promise poor Councillor Holloway extra money and thought you'd push it through council? Because I'm really uncomfortable with this. It's a really poor state of affairs. And actually, I genuinely was surprised at the Labour group for doing this. I really am. It's not what I would expect from you. You know, a basic tenet of equalities is that we want our allies to support us all. And any of us with privilege, we should be amplifying the voices of all of us, but not just one of us. You know, we all accepted this job knowing the pay we were going to get. And we all probably made cases to the IP. And this is what came forward. And we voted for it just recently. There's obviously some of us who could say, because of our care responsibilities, because of our health conditions, because of our disabilities, because we sit on regulatory committees in the day so you can't work full time. Those are cases to be made, but they need to go through the due process. Otherwise, it's just the loudest voice or the majority pushing something through. You know, the IRP listens to our evidence. It puts it in a framework that's internally fair and externally justifiable. If you didn't argue for it, you should have done. And if you did argue for it and they didn't support you, then it couldn't be justified. And we have to live with this. It's fair, it's evidence-based. I agree with Councillor Ashton. You know, we need, if you feel that a member of your group needs more money in the short term or deserves more money, then sort it out within your group or your party and bring it back to the IRP as our recommendation, our amendment by Councillor Dale suggests. So I urge you to vote for this amendment. I urge you to go through due process, which, as all of you will know, I like process. It is really important to me. But this lands on the Labour group generally, if you support this, pushing up someone's salary and no one else's. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Porritt. Now, the second amendment, which was to backdate the rise, Councillor Gawthorpe-Wood, would you like to speak, please? You have 3 minutes.
So much of what I would have said has already been said in debate. We want equality of access to of opportunity to be able to be leader and to be a councillor. And I don't want them always to be old people on a private pension and of even private means, whatever they are. I note that the median and the real living wages are lower than what we will be paying our, actually higher than what we will be paying our leader, our current leader. We are only asking for this to be backdated to the AGM of this year. We have to recognise that this is a huge workload for our leader and for many of our councillors, actually. We are in an area of growth, economic growth, spatial growth, and that's not going to change in the near future. That has changed over the years as our population growth has grown extremely fast. Now, we haven't always in the past accepted the findings of the independent review panel, and I think I would say I don't agree with the findings that they came up with. I was quite taken aback at what they thought the range in terms of hours that people were putting into being a councillor. I know I'm way at the top end, and I'm only a backbencher, as they call us. Obviously, I have some lead roles. I don't get paid for those. So I would urge you, on this occasion, that we do reward the leader with a reasonable, and it's not excessive, allowance. I'd better say that I've often talked to school children, especially when I was talking about being mayor and being a councillor. And one little boy came and asked me, well, how much do you get paid? And I said, well, we have an allowance. And I said what the allowance was. And then I said if you had special responsibilities, what they were. And he looked extremely disgruntled. And the implication was, well, is that all you get? And that's from a primary school child in King's Hedges. King's Hedges is the poorest part of Cambridge. I'm happy to serve them, and I think they would not think that we were being excessive in what we were asking for our leader. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, Councillor Robertson, if you would sum up your original...
Yes.
What you originally asked in your report for adoption.
I think we've had all the arguments put forward by us and by the opposition. I would reiterate, as my colleague Jenny would have said, this is not a precedent. It's been done before by councils, including Lib Dem Council, I think. That the remuneration panel is not automatically accepted everything they say. You select what you think is right. Normally they are right, but this time they're not. They made 2 mistakes. We want to rectify them. So I would ask you to vote for the original proposal, original amendment to the proposal. Thank you.
The Labour amendment.
Thank you, Councillor Robertson. Right. So we are now voting on the amendment brought by Councillor Dale and seconded by Councillor Porritt.
Madam Mayor, can I just ask something? On page 17 of the amended papers, there is the wording that we're now voting on. There are 2 proposals there. Nothing has been said by the opposition about the second one, what they're proposing. Can we ask if they have withdrawn it?
sure this is clear. So the Lib Dem amendment is on page 17 of your information pack.
That's correct, Madam Mayor, but they spoke about the first one of those amendments.
And we haven't discussed the whole of it, but I
Have they
assume that
withdrawn
we...
the one labelled 2? All right. I put the arguments for that original proposal. You have not counted them. That's what you're coming down to.
I'm just reading you this. Can you stop the voting? We'll start again, because I don't think everybody was clear. So, because it is a very unclear amendment, actually. So the committee agreed. I'm sorry, this doesn't make sense. So can you just clarify, please, Lib Dems, are you agreeing to the uplift of as the report or not? You are, right. So you are not agreeing with the report as brought by Councillor Robertson. You do not agree with it. Can you please vote on whether you support that amendment or not? Well, they're voting the wrong way, so what are they? Sorry, 18 votes in favour of that amendment, 21 votes against that amendment, no abstentions, so that amendment falls. We now move to the amendment brought by Councillor Robertson, which is to backdate his original proposal to May.
We're voting on the item on page 85 of the agenda, which is the proposed amendment that I put forward.
Yeah. And then we will vote on your original thing, whether it's amended or not. Okay? I don't think people are getting it right.
Have you voted?
Oh.
Come on, everybody vote.
Sorry, I didn't realise it started.
Richard.
What?
Who hasn't voted?
I have voted.
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Try again.
I haven't voted.
yes, you voted.
You have
Where's
voted.
young Dave?
Yeah.
You voted.
Thank you. Right. So the vote on the second amendment, which is to backdate the report, is agreed by 21 votes with 17 votes against, 1 abstention. We now go to the vote of the original motion brought
As amended.
as amended. Okay?
It wasn't amended.
Well, it is amended by your resolution.
Oh, yeah, sure, you're right. Okay.
Councillor Ashton, you haven't voted.
Oh, right, she was right. I was wrong last time.
Robertson, you haven't voted.
Councillor Robertson, you haven't voted. And Councillor Dryden, you haven't voted, please.
Yes, I amended then. I was wrong.
Mark voted against. What did you vote? Huh? Come right.
Thank you. Right, the votes are all in now. So the item 9 10A, as amended by the second amendment by Councillor Robertson, has been passed by 22 votes with 17 against and no abstentions. Whew. Right, so now we have already covered item 10A. We move to item 10B. Councillor Wade.
Oh, sorry. Could I recuse myself, please, Madam Mayor? Thank you.
So Councillor Wade has excused herself from this item. Now, what are we going to do about time?
I think, Madam, you have to say, well, with the motion, we've got limited time,
Yeah.
so we're not going to get through all of this.
Right, we have very limited time. So at 20 to 10, which is our cut-off time, or just before, whatever is left, we just go to the, we go straight to the vote, okay? So if you would bear that in mind. So now we're talking about motion 10B from Councillor Dale about Arbury Court. If you would like to speak, Councillor Dale, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I rise to propose this motion because Arbury Court represents everything we should strive for when development comes for Cambridge, enhancing our communities rather than displacing them. Currently, the City Council is beginning to draw together those plans for redeveloping Arbury Court, and everyone in our community knows it. And too often, I think, in Cambridge, we see proposals which benefit developers whilst existing communities pay the price. This motion sends a clear message. When we are the developer, as a council, we will make the commitments necessary to ensure that any redevelopment brings genuine benefits to the people already calling North Cambridge home. Arbury Court isn't just a shopping centre, it's a vital community hub for North Cambridge. For decades, families have relied on those shops for their daily needs. Children buy their sweets there on their way from school. Elderly residents can walk to a pharmacy and to the shops without travelling across the city. And what a collection of shops we have. We have a greengrocer's, a library, a good supermarket, a barber's, a hairdresser's, a bike shop, a chippy, a Chinese, a butcher's, a baker. The only thing we're missing is a candlestick maker. This is what proper community shopping looks like, meeting real local needs. John the Nut Butcher knows us all by name, isn't afraid to tell some of us councillors exactly what he thinks, and the team at Les Ward are, always have all the local news and gossip. They aren't just businesses, they're part of the fabric of our community and places where neighbours become friends. I want to commend the officers working on the Shaping North Cambridge consultation, who I've discussed this with. Their engagement with local businesses and residents has been exemplary, and they understand what we understand, that this site value lie not just in its development potential, but in its role as a community hub. Despite this excellent work, uncertainty does remain. Businesses face leases ending in 2030. We've got shops like the Poochie Parlour that has sat empty for a year. Local entrepreneurs are hesitant to invest, and they don't know if they'll have premises in the next 5 years. The businesses themselves have told us what they need, and that's not temporary accommodation that disrupts their operations and disconnects them from customers. They want replacement facilities built first, a build before you demolish approach that maintains community services throughout any redevelopment. This motion establishes those clear principles, and it makes sure that the existing businesses deserve a lease that extends well beyond 2030. That replacement retail must be ready before displacement occurs. That any redevelopment must enhance and not diminish what makes Arbury Court special. Now, I suspect we may hear arguments that we can't commit to this because no redevelopment has been decided. If that is genuinely the case, then let's extend the leases today. The fact that we're not doing that suggests we know where this is heading, so let's protect our community through that process. These aren't unreasonable demands, they're basic commitments to our community, and if we can't make these promises now before any commercial pressures emerge, how can residents trust us to stand firm when developers want to maximise their profits? I hope this motion will show that Cambridge City Council stands with our existing communities and that development can and must bring benefits to the people already here. I urge colleagues to support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dale. I'm now proposing that we go straight to the amendment, and if there's time for a seconder, otherwise we will go straight to the vote, and that way we will cover both motions.
You ask for a seconder, and then they just reserve their right. Perhaps
Are you happy to reserve your right, Councillor Illingworth? Okay.
I'd rather speak now, please.
If you could do it very briefly, please.
How long are you giving me?
Use up all 3 minutes.
Have 3 minutes. If you can do it less, that would be great.
3 minutes. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm supporting this motion not only as a councillor, but also as someone who cares deeply and understands what it means to fight for the heart of a community. In too many parts of Cambridge, we've seen firsthand what happens when development priorities overlook the people already living, working and raising families here. What's happening in Arbury Court should matter to all of us because it speaks to a bigger question. Who is the development for? Is it for the communities that have kept Cambridge running and vibrant for decades, or for those who only see land value and profit margins? Arbury Court is more than bricks and mortar. It's the greengrocer. It's the friendly barber who asks after your family. It's the chip shop that knows your order. It's the bike shop that keeps on repairing your bike that's so old it's unlikely to ever get stolen, even in Cambridge. These are the kinds of places that hold a community together, especially for the elderly, the disabled, young families, and those who rely on public transport or services within walking distance. This motion is about more than Arbury Court. It's about setting a precedent for how we treat existing communities across Cambridge. The principle is simple. No community should be asked to give up its heart without clear, tangible guarantees that what comes next will be better and fairer. So we're asking for basic fairness. Businesses should be given lease security beyond 2030. That redevelopment puts replacement shops and services in place before demolition begins, and that we build trust, not just buildings. Let's be honest, if there were no redevelopment on the horizon, leases would have already been extended. The hesitation to act speaks volumes. If we don't act now, we send a signal that existing communities are negotiable or even dispensable. And I know that's not what residents in Arbury, in my ward of East Chesterton or King's Hedges, want to hear. This motion isn't anti-development, it's pro-community. It says we can grow without erasing what's already good, that we can plan for the future while protecting the present, and that's a message residents across Cambridge deserve to hear from their council. I urge councillors to support this motion and to stand not just with Arbury, but with every community in Cambridge that deserves a future shaped with them, not just for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Illingworth. Now I go to Councillor Bird, please, for the amendment.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Really pleased to be able to do this. For a start, we are not throwing out the shops. The shops will find out when the consultation is revealed in October. I'd like to know how many across there, that side of the chamber, has actually been and spoke to the shopkeepers. Right, one. Okay. I have been to the meetings with the shopkeepers. All the officers have been to see the shopkeepers one by one to make sure they're okay, keep them updated. We've also had consultations around the north of the city. How many went to that? None. None.
Well, they care for their community.
Yeah, and you care for your community. That's right. The reason we're looking at these areas is not for profit. It's to build council homes for 2,960 people on the waiting list. That is what we're doing. The shopkeepers we will look after. It's when people like this suddenly bring out all these frightening things and saying what we're doing. We're doing the right thing. We're having consultations with everybody. Even the residents have been contacted. They've had consultations. They've actually been to events around the city, Brownsfield, the Meadows and Arbury Church. Arbury Community Centre. Yeah. So there's been around the north area. So I get really annoyed about this because there's people here who might have 2 or 3 houses, but I've got these 2,960 people on the waiting list with no home. So the idea is to regenerate that area. We have told the shops that we will build around them so they can stay open if this development was to go ahead. We've made no decision because once October comes and we get the results from that one, we'll have another consultation. We don't just go in there, get the bulldozers and pull them all down. So if you look at my amendment, I hope everybody will vote for it. It tells the truth, what's happening, not the lies on the other side of the chamber.
Thank you, Councillor Bird. Thank you, Councillor Bird. Right, members, we have reached the cut-off point, which means we now go through the rest of the items with votes, no discussion. Okay, so first of all then, we are voting on Councillor Bird's amendment. In favour or against, or abstaining? So that amendment is passed. So we now vote, please, on the motion as amended. Is that everybody?
Councillor Clough hasn't voted. Who's trying?
Councillor Holloway, have you voted? Councillor Clough?
Who was trying? Yes, he has.
Councillor McPherson? It's passed anyway. So that motion is passed by 37 votes, 38, thank you. So no votes against, no abstentions. Right, we now move to item 10C, and we've got literally 2 minutes to bash through this. So you will need to vote, first of all, on the amendment as made by Councillor Smart on page 23. Can you clear that, please? Oh, sorry, James. Yeah, just give it a moment, yeah. So whether you support Councillor Smart's amendment on page 23, those in favour, those against and abstentions. Councillor Clough seems to have... Oh, Councillor Clough, if you voted, yeah?
That looks like a full house.
Yeah, we're there. So that amendment to that motion has passed by 35 votes, 4 abstentions, none against. Can we now vote on the actual motion, please, as amended? Right, I think everyone's voted.
Councillor Davey.
Oh, Councillor Davey, you haven't voted. Right, is that it? Yeah.
38.
Right, so that motion 10C, is passed by 38 votes, none against, no abstentions. So item 11 is there's no written questions, and item 12 was just to note, and that's the cabinet portfolios. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's our first taste of the new system. I think we've been quite a learning curve for us all, and miraculously we have got through all the business. So thank you all. I would just like to say a huge thank you to the team here, because we have wrestled with technical issues as well, to Claire, to Tom, and to James. Thank you all very, very much, and I wish you all a very good night.